Hearts and minds clear. Abiyah, the ruler and creator of all things. I want to say Torah for another Shabbat day. Torah for keeping us alive. Torah for blessing us with your Torah. Torah for your love and your mercy. Abiyah, ask on this day that you can forgive us for our sins, our transgressions, and our iniquity. Forgive us for the times that we walk contrary to you. Forgive us for the times we disrespected you. Abiyah also asks that you forgive the sins of our forefathers, our ancestors, those who lived before us. Forgive them for their wickedness, forgive them for their sins and transgressions and iniquity. And Abiyah asks that you remove any distractions, anything that may try to hinder us from receiving your word. And Abiyah asks that we will not just be hearers of your word, but ask that we will doers also. And Abiyah asks that you can continue to bless us with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of your word, so that we can learn the things, the information that was once lost. And Abiyah asks that you can bless us, keep us on this earth, protect us from the evil that we can see, and also protect us from the evil that we cannot see. And Abiyah asks that you remove any of your strife or any hatred, anything from our households. And Abiyah asks that regardless of how hard things may get in this life, ask that we will never blaspheme your name or your Ruach HaKodesh. But I ask that even during the hard times, even at the darkest times, I ask that we can still give praises to you and give esteem to you. And Abiyah, I ask that we will never be afraid to tell others of your word and tell others of the good things that you have done for us on this earth. And Abiyah, I ask that we will never be afraid to do what is right and to say what needs to be said. And Abiyah, I ask that you can protect us in the future, keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger, and protect us from ourselves also. And I ask that we will not go after the desires of your heart, of our own heart, but ask that you keep us on a straight and narrow path, and we will go after the desires of your heart. And Abiyah, I ask on this beautiful day that you could touch the hearts of every brother and sister on this call and the ones that are not on this call. And I ask that you keep us, feed us with your word, and bless us with your Ruach HaKodesh. Blessed is your name, Yahweh, and blessed is he that comes in the name of Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, Amen, Amen, Sarah. Now we'll have the ordinance read by Adon Uziel.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachah. Our first ordinance will come from the book of Shemot, commonly called Exodus, chapter 19, starting at verses 1 through 8. And it reads, in the third month, after the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Mitzrayim, on the same day they came to the wilderness of Sinai, for they had departed from Rephidim, had come to the wilderness of Sinai, and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped therefore before the mountain. And Moshe went up to Yahuwah, and Adonai called to him from the mountain, saying, thus you shall say to the house of Yaakov, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what I did to the Mitzrayim, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a set apart nation. These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel. So Moshe came and called for the people, for the elders of the people, and laid them before all these words which Yahweh commanded him. Then all the people answered together and said, all that Yah has spoken, we will do. So Moshe brought the words of the people back to Yahweh. HalaYah. Our next ordinance will come from Wa'ikra, commonly called Leviticus, chapter 26, starting at verses 40 through 46. And it reads, but if they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers with their unfaithfulness in which they were unfaithful to me, and that they also have walked contrary to me, and that I also have walked contrary to them, and brought them into the land of their enemies, if their uncircumcised hearts are humble, and they accept their guilt, then I will remember my covenant with Yaakov, and my covenant with Yitzhak, and my covenant with Abraham. I will remember the land, The land also shall be left empty by them, and will enjoy its Sabbath while it lies desolate without them. They will accept their guilt, because they despise my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. Yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, nor shall I abhor them, to utterly destroy them and break my covenant with them. For I am Yahuwah, their mighty one. But for their sakes, I will remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim in the sight of the nations, that I might be their El. I am Yahuwah. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which Yah made between himself and the children of Israel on Mount Sinai by the hand of Moshe. HalaYah. And our last ordinance to come from Ezekiel, commonly called Ezekiel, chapter 36, starting at verses 22 through 28. And it reads, Therefore, say to the house of Israel, thus says Adonai Yahuwah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my set-apart name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am Yahuwah, says Adonai Yahuwah, when I am set apart in you before their eyes. For I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness and from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. Then you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. You shall be my people, and I will be your El. HalaYah.
Now we have the 10 words by Saw Yourself.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachah. Let us turn to the book of Shemot, commonly called Exodus, chapter 20. Starting with verse 1. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness, which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah, your El, am the jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers, of the children, to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love and commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commandments. You do not bring the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim, to naught. For Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Remember the Shabbat day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the 7th day is a Shabbat of Yahuwah, your Elohim. You do no work. You, nor your sons, nor your daughters, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your strangers within your gates. For 6 days Yahuwah made the heavens and the earth, the seas, and all that they're in, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yahuwah blessed the Shabbat day and set it apart. Respect your father and your mother, so that your days may be prolonged upon the soil which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you. You do not murder. You do not commit adultery. You do not steal. You do not bear false witness against your neighbor. You do not covet your neighbor's house. You do not covet your neighbor's wife. Nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. Thus readeth the law. HalaYah.
HalaYah. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad, We'ahat Te'et Yahuwah Eloheka, Bekor Levavka, Ubekor Nefeshka, Ubekor Meodika. Hear and obey Yisrael, Yahuwah RL, Yahuwah is one. And you should love Yahuwah your Elohim with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might. Hallelujah. Now we're going to our HalaYah portion. Preceded by my Hallelujah belongs to you, led by Tehillah. Can you lead that, please? Bye-bye, Kasha. My hallelujah belongs to you. 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 You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it. My hallelujah belongs to you. My hallelujah belongs to you. My hallelujah belongs to you. Hallelujah. My hallelujah belongs to you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So now I have our HalaYah portion preceded by my hallelujah belongs to you. I mean, a HalaYah portion, anything you want to say to the Creator as far as praise, anything that He has revealed to you to reveal to others, or any way that you would like to express yourself, now is the time to do so. Hallelujah. We'll have Uziel. What, Akeem?
Cain, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpachah, giving all honor, praise, and esteem to the Most High Yah. I just want to say Todah Yah for another week of survival in this land. You know, with all our endeavors, the Most High, He never ceases to be with us, even when we don't deserve it. A few weeks ago, I probably should have shared this a few weeks ago, but the Most High allowed for me to get another job outside of the city work that I was doing, which was an increase in pay. Wasn't much, but you know, it was enough to sustain me. You know, and that's what the Father is showing me right now. Meat in due season. You know, instead of having a surplus or an abundance of things for right now, if He chooses to do so or not, HalaYah. So I just praise Yah for that, and for you all's life, and I yield.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. Now we have Sorry Yourself and then Shashamar.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, fam. Good to hear everyone's voice. For those, of course, I did not hear, Shabbat Shalom. I want to give all praise and honor to esteem, of course, to Creator, heaven, earth, seas, and all that is in it. I'm kind of in the same vein as my Ak that just went before me. Most High is continuously working with us, molding us. I say specifically for the men as well, not to single out or to undermine the women as well. But this season, I feel the men are being groomed for something. I don't know what that is yet. The Most High has not revealed that yet. But with everything that's been going on, leading up to this moment, just this moment here, the Most High has continuously showing me particularly things in regards to how we need to move as men. And it's a glorious sight to see in regards to different mindsets coming together. We just came off a meeting not too long ago, different mindsets in regards to the Most High, his Moedim, his feast days. And it was a total moment. It was a total moment to be a part of that experience. Fathers being joined together with sons. It's overall right now, it's just a really, really total experience in my life. I'll say that. One of the things that was brought up in many conversations was the mentorship. That was one of the things that was talked about. One of the pillars in regards to building up this nation. And the many things that we're trying to fix, that was one of them. And that was near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate the brothers' inputs and everybody for that. And lastly, I'll say just the continuous humility, continuous grace that the Most High is showing all of us. You know, despite our pitfalls, despite our sins against the Creator's face, we are still here. The world is getting more wicked by the second. The world looks crazy right now, especially if y'all pay attention to the news. There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes or in front of your face. You know, it's really just a blessing just to even be here, giving praise and honor and esteem to the Creator. So I'm at a point in my life where when we come up to these moments, it's like I have to give praise at this point. I have to say something, because I used to be that person that was like, you know what, I'm gonna probably wait to the last second, wait till, you know, people get their hallelujahs out, and I might chime in, I might glean from what they say. I'm like, oh, that sounds inspiring. I'm gonna have to raise my hand on that. I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm one of the first ones to feel like I need to raise my hand now because of what the Most High is doing for me. I'll say continuously for me and my halakha, my walk. And I appreciate all of it. I really, really do. Oh, one more thought. My apologies. One of my brothers just a couple of minutes ago just brought something that was edifying for me, right? In regards to being fishermen and being hunters. And it's like, you want to be a part of that group that's being a hunter or a fisherman, you know, praying for those attributes to be bestowed upon you, right? I know some of us don't have the greatest patience than others. So pray for being a hunter. Pray for having the strength or the tools to be an adequate hunter for the Creator. Or if you're a man of patience, pray for that. Pray for more patience. Pray for the tools so you can sit there and have the fish come to you. Overall, the will still be the Creator's in order to bring prophecy to fruition. I say all that to end it on. I say I love y'all as always. I pray the Most High continuously bless each and every one of y'all's household. Continuously give you the strength, continue to give you the honor and esteem to lift yourselves up in times of peril. For those that are sick, pray that y'all get well. Pray that y'all are 110% better than what y'all was before. And my heart goes out to each and every soul that is here. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. Shabbat shalom to all those who just came on. Shah Shamar.
Y'all want to give praise to the Most High Yah for just keeping me on the earth. You know, He's blessed me in numerous ways. It's not always materialistic things. There could be an increase in faith, or it could be a person. You know, a person could be a blessing. I was also thinking about the concept of, you know, how anger or murmuring can, you know, cause someone to lose out on a blessing in the future or lose out on an opportunity. So I want to give praise to the Most High for giving me the wisdom to always, you know, conduct myself in a way that is pleasing in His sight. Because sometimes when I think about things that happened in the past, you know, certain emotions start coming up. So my goal is to always operate in a state of humility and righteousness. So I give all praise to the Most High Yah for all the blessings that I have received thus far in this life, and also, for a sound mind, self-control. All praise to the Most High, Yah. I yield.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. Occult Toy, I saw your hand up.
I'm sorry, it was an accident. I'm sorry.
Nah, you
I
good. Now
didn't
you
mean
gotta
to put
give
my
praise
hand
to
up.
your creator. Nah, it's okay. Now you gotta give a HalaYah anyway. It was meant to be.
You do cut that down. I just want to say HalaYah for another opportunity to turn and live. And for the Zoom, for fellowship, and for the Most High giving me the courage and the will to endure. That's my HalaYah.
Yeah. Have you moved out here yet, sis?
No, I have not, or I would have contacted y'all.
Okay.
It's gonna be something immediate. As soon as I get there. I haven't came out there yet because I had some things to I'm having health issues or whatever.
Okay.
And so I don't want to come out or move out until I'm okay. So
Okay.
that's what I got going on. But I'm still coming.
Hallelujah. All right, well, we're gonna contact you about those and try to see what's going on offline. I have my Isha reach out.
Torah.
Okay, go to bar. Bayit Azariyahu, shalom, Bismillah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
It's a family affair.
It's a whole family affair. Go ahead.
Okay.
Torah for life, strength, Torah for family, for just an opportunity to make it to the end of another week. My bang turned 14 this week, so Torah for his life and the opportunity just to experience the week that we've had. Has been an eventful and fun week. So we're truly grateful for that. And just Torah for the lessons that I'm able to just instill into the Banim this summer. As we know right now, there's been so many different things happening in the world. And normally when we have these events that happens, I'm normally not near them. So to be in their presence at this time while these changes are happening, it's a great thing because it's giving me the opportunity to show them the hand of the Most High and to also show them how important it is to know and learn who the Creator is and know how important it is to learn His word and to embody His instructions that they may have life. So I just give all honor, glory, and praise and esteem.
So he just okay. Here he comes. I say country.
So
Receipts.
luckily,
Go ahead.
Kane, it truly is.
Yeah, I would just say, just want to say Torah for all that he do, all he done, all he continues to do in our lives, and that we love you and we love you all, and we appreciate just the Most High giving us the connection that we have. That even when we are apart, we are still connected by His word, and we're still connected by His presence and His spirit. So hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Okay, glad to have y'all with us and everybody on. Soraya. I want to give a HalaYah just for having time, patience, understanding, well, being able to hear the Creator, right? I was talking with my Isha, and she was talking about some events happening throughout the nation and how nothing really changes from year to year in those particular events. And although that was some shots fired, once you get past the shots, it's true that a lot of our nation becomes stagnant and just used to doing the same thing over and over and over again, which is not the way that the spirit moves. That's when you become religious in your spiritual journey, and that's not something that we should be doing. So just always thanking the Creator for giving you the opportunity to hear Him, if you are willing, because He's always talking. As Moreh Baruch would say, the Most High is always teaching. Are we in class? So I just thank Him for that opportunity. Hallelujah. Are there any other HalaYahs? Okay. All right. Well, we'll ask Akko Gwyneth. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Good. Happy Sabbath, everyone. I wanted to say a special thank you to God for life, health, strength, bringing me through another week. I started on a couple little projects here and there, and I'm seeing them coming along. And I give God thanks because I'm usually laid back a little procrastination, like I mentioned last week, but I got up and I got them done. So I give God thanks for the strength and the courage to push through, to see it through. I thank God for my mom, my family, even close friends at this time who are just a shoulder to lean on, at least for my mom. So I'm grateful for that. So, and again, I'm always grateful for the community and meeting with you guys on Sabbath, and I look forward to it. So for that, I say hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay. Always a pleasure to see your name up here, Coach. Hopefully, we can get back together again. There is an event in September that I'll be telling everybody about toward the end. So just we'll keep you abreast. Rome, shalom, my kid.
Shalom, shalom. I just want to give praise to the Most High for another day of life. To make a better choice. I want to praise the Most High for shelter, warmth, food, water, and for love. Hallelujah.
I was on mute. If you could, Coach, lead us in a couple of songs of praise and worship. And we'll go from there. Shabbat shalom, Jay. Coach Tahila, are you available? Oh, your phone cutting in and out. Okay, no problem. Nah, I didn't know she was still. Okay, not a problem. We will, Coach Valerie, pray for your bed. Definitely. All right. So I will start off praise and worship. Hallelujah. 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 Speaking of protection, keep us in your hand and under your wing. Keep us in your hands and under your wing. Keep us in your hands and under your wing. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. You see me, redeem me, you freed me out of the dark. You clean me, you lead me, you see me as you're set apart. I was lost, now I'm found. I was dead, now I live. When I fall and you call, our response is, oh yeah, keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. One more time, keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. Keep us in your hands and under your wings. And under your wings. There is no Savior. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. There is no Savior. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. One time, there is no Savior but. There is no Savior but Yahuwah Elohim. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yo, I see two pictures of you.
Yeah, one is Yohanan because he's never on his own profile. He always.
I ain't mean to.
Nah, it's all good. I'm just messing with Sorry anyway. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is told. Yes, he is told. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is told. But he is.
Yes, he is.
But he is worthy, for he is worthy, for he is told. Yes, but he is worthy, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is so. Yes, he is so. Oh, give thanks unto Yahweh, for he is so. Yes, but he is worthy, for he is worthy, worthy, for he is so.
Yes, he is so.
For he is worthy, worthy, for he is so. And that's something when I do that. One more. Oh, do la you are. Kenkito, Kenkito, Hulu Yayawa, who do lay you up, Kenkito, Kihura wiki, Raui, Kenkito, Kihura wiki, Raui, Kenkito. One more time, who do lay you up? Kenkito. Who do lay you up? Who do lay you up? Kenkito. Kihura wiki, Kenkito. Kihura wiki, Raui, Keto. K
Keto.
K
Keto. Keto.
K K.
Keto.
One-
Keto.
I ain't say last time, but K Keto. Wow. Wildin'. All right, hold on. Okay, Tehila, we heard you. We are one with you. We are one with one another. We are one. We are one with you. We are one with one another. One more. We are one. We are one with you. We are one with one another. We are one. We are one with you. We are one. We are one with one another. Take our will. Take our will, yeah. And turn it into yours. And turn it into yours. Take our will. Come on. Take our will, yeah. And turn it into yours. Give us your spirit. Give us your spirit. That we may follow you. That we may follow you. Give us a heart of flesh. Come on. Give us a heart of flesh. That we may love. That we may love you true. Oh, our God and light our path. Lead us with thy rod and staff. We can light the world and help them grow. They'll praise your name as we are one. We are one. We are one. We are one with you. We are one with one another. Take our will. Take our will, yeah. And turn it into yours. And turn it into yours. Take our will. Come on. Take our will, yeah. And turn it into yours. Give us your spirit. Give us your spirit. That we may follow you. That we may follow you. Give us a heart of flesh. Give us a heart of flesh. That we may love you true. Our guide our steps. Our guide our steps. And light our path. And light our path. Lead us with. Lead us with. Thy rod and staff. We can light the world. And help them grow. And help them grow. They'll praise your name as we show. We are one with you. We are one with one another. We are one. We are one with you. We are one with one another. And you know we are one. Come on. We are one. Hey. Hallelujah. 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 Hey. Anyone else have a song on their lip? Bye, Azariahu. While we get our next one.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. We're gonna sing our song of praise. Can we be heard?
Yes, you can.
HalaYah, HalaYah. Got it. Move quick. You ready?
Sure. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Blessed be the day of the Shabbat. Blessed be the joy that it brings.
Blessed be the Yah of our Father. Blessed be the joy and the worship. And light and Allah. Blessed be the Yah of our Father. For He is the Most High. Yahweh is His name. Blessed be the day of the Shabbat. Blessed be the joy that it brings. Blessed be the Yah of our Father. Us every day. Blessed be the joy and the worship. Hey, that is light in Allah. Blessed be the Yah of our Father. For He is the Most High. Yahweh is His name. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Wrong, wrong. Y'all ain't supposed to only do that twice. Wrong. I'll just play hallelujah, hallelujah. Y'all supposed to run that back a third time. But it's okay though. Hallelujah. Anybody else with a song on their leg? Huh. You want to do Seek Your Presence? All right. We'll do one more Seek Your Presence. One, two. We seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. We seek your will. We seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. On till we seek your will. We seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence, let your cloud down in this place. We seek your will, we seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence, let your cloud down in this place. May the praises of your people be where you reside. May you hear our voices when we cry. May you go out before us to lead us in the path, not by power or by might, but your ruach, and that's why we seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. We seek your will. We seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your face. We seek your presence. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. May the praises of your people. May the praises of your people be where you reside. May you hear our voices when we cry. May you go out before us to lead us in the fight, not by power or by might, but your ruach. And that's why we seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. We seek your will. We seek your will. We seek your face. We seek your face. We seek your presence. We seek your presence. Let your cloud down in this place. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hey, hallelujah. And I asked previously, so I'm not gonna ask again. Are there any songs on anybody's list? If not, then we will get into our Torah portion this week, which is Qorach. And then we will, which is Qorach, and then we will be having a conversation afterwards. So let me go ahead and pull it up. We are in it's a Chuka, which is in the book of Numbers, chapter 19, starting at verse 1. Chuka, chapter 19, starting at verse 1. We're going to read it fairly quickly, also because Nariah is not on today, so we won't be reading the Greek necessarily. Are you gonna try to read the Greek?
Man, I'll probably do a lot of that first one, what is that?
Hold on.
What is that?
Now we'll Waya de Be Yahuwah El Moshe wa El Aaron Le Amor. But I'm not reading any Greek. So we're just gonna go through it. We're just gonna read it. We're just gonna go through it. Chuka, but if you want to read, Akeem, well, yeah, because it's 3 different chapters, all of them pretty long. So you can read one. Akeem Uziel can read one, and
you talk about the Greek or just the
no, English.
Oh, okay.
English.
So what do we see? So I got what which one again?
Chapter 1. Well, chapter 19.
So okay. So you go first.
Okay.
Well, I'm asking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you tell me anything. I'll be reading Bamidbar, commonly called Numbers, chapter 19, starting from verse 1. Again, I'll be reading Bamidbar, commonly called Numbers, chapter 19, from verse 1. And it reads, Yahweh spoke with Moshe and Aharon, saying, this is the ordinance of the Torah, which Yah hath commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they may bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein there is no blemish. There's no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. And he shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh and her blood with her dung shall he burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood and the hyssop and scarlet and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer.
All right, hold up real quick. Okay, so we have red heifer is to be burnt, and then the priest is to take the blood, sprinkle it 7 times of the red heifer by itself, and then it's burned to complete ashes, right? And it's mixed with cedar wood, hyssop. It says crimson stuff, right? Whatever that is, and throw them into the fire, consuming the heifer. We're gonna get into whatever that is in a little bit. All right, so first you have the heifer. The red heifer. Is there still an echo? I'm on mute. Is there still an echo? Yeah. Okay. All right, now it's no. Okay. So you have those 3 things, right? So first, the heifer is parah, which means to break. Well, it's red heifer, but the root of it means to break, to split, or divide. So this is something that is splitting something in half or separating 2 things. So one from another. That's what the red heifer is signifying. Now, does anybody know how often a red heifer is born? You raise your hand?
No.
Oh, you.
Okay.
HalaYah. A red heifer is it's a baby cow that is red. Rare. Uziel said rare. Okay, it's so rare that in 2018 a red heifer was born for the first time in 2,000 years. So it took 2,000 years from 2018 for a red heifer to be born. And then it occurred again in 2019. So it took 2,000 years for one to be born, but in back-to-back years, a red heifer was born, which in certain communities, they said that that's what began the last days, right? So the last days clock started in 2018, which is very interesting because 2019 would have represented what? 400 years. So you would have had two red heifers being born back-to-back years for the first time in 2,000 years, which we know 2,000 years ago, there was a man who walked on the earth named Yeshua, and we know the rest of that story. So that's how rare it is. Now, once you take that rare heifer and you mix it with cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet. So cedar wood is eraz, which means it means cedar wood, but the root of that is araz, which means firm. So we know that cedar trees have a very, very firm and the definition calls it tenacious root system. So it's very, very firm or grounded in its foundation, which are roots. You have hyssop, which is izod, which we know that is a medicinal and religious herb, right? It's usually used to cleanse your blood, I believe. Okay.
Antiviral.
He says what?
Antiviral, antioxidant.
Antiviral, antioxidant. Anything else about hyssop?
But it really has to do a lot with intestinal things. So it's a cleanser for your like intestines and just your inner things.
Is it like a spiritual sense? I believe it's a HalaYah, where it says, purge me with hyssop, make me whiter than snow.
Yeah. That's go ahead.
It cleans the inside, your intros, your inter parts.
So what you're referring to is HalaYah, commonly called Psalm chapter 51. I'm just gonna go to it because he brought it up. I wasn't where he said, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, I shall be whiter than snow." That's verse 7. So 51:7. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. So you're mixing something that is grounded, something that makes you clean, and now for the crimson stuff, whatever that is, right? It is a tola sheni, or a scarlet worm. Most people know that it's a worm that is squeezed and it creates a red dye. Does anybody know anything else about this scarlet worm? Okay. It's a parasite, which means that it lives on a host plant, which is mostly oaks, and it feeds off, because that's what a parasite does, right? It feeds off of the host. It's more than like is mostly a female. So the worm that we get the red dye from is a female parasite, which is attached to a tree, and then it pretty much sacrifices herself for her children that she's given birth to, and then the children that she gave birth to eat her. So it is a in a sense, it has the appearance of a sacrifice for the benefit of those of his children, right? Which I know this is bringing on a lot of triggers. I want to go to Psalms chapter 22, verse 6. Well, I'm gonna read from verse 1 to 6. So HalaYah, commonly called Psalms chapter 22, verses 1 to 6. So to the chief musician, upon Eli left, Shahar, a psalm of Daud. Eli, Eli, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? O Eli, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest me not, and in the nighttime, and am not silent. But thou art set apart, O thou inhabitest, O thou that inhabitest the praises of Israel. He who lives in the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in thee. They trusted, and thou didst deliver them. They cried unto thee and were delivered. They trusted in thee and were not confounded. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of man, and despised of all the people. So, of course, that word there for worm is tolah, the same word that is used in the mixing of the red heifer. Now, a lot of people would see this as a messianic song after the Second Temple period. That's what it is referred to. So a worm, once again, looking at the self-sacrifice of themselves for the benefit of those who come after them. In Isaiah chapter 53. So I just want to, verse 10. Say, yet it pleased Yahuwah to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahuwah shall prosper in his hand. So some will look at that. Well, definitely, everyone looks at that as a messianic prophecy. Now, who you would claim this pertains to, that's where the confrontation comes in usually. I want to go to two other places in regards to this red bug. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 41. Verse 14. So it says, fear not, you worm Jacob, and ye man of Israel. I will help thee, saith Yahuwah, and thy redeemer, the set apart one of Israel. So why would the creator call Jacob Tolah, or the worm, or Toleah, whichever pronunciation one uses? Why would he call Jacob the worm and say man of Israel? And remember in Psalms chapter 22, he said, I am a worm and not a man. So worms are good. This particular worm has some good properties to it. Oh, not all worms are good. So it's like the fact, why he said that. Why did he call Jacob the worm, but Israel the men? Well, the men of Israel, but the worm Jacob, as in singular. But for the men of Israel, he calls them that. It says, ye men, mete. Yeah, men. You men of Israel, you worm of Jacob. You worm Jacob.
You worm for him, said?
No, he called Jacob a worm. He said, fear not, you worm Jacob, and ye man of Israel. Uzi, I see your hand up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
So you a little low, but
how about now?
Okay. You better.
So just looking at Jacob's lower self when he was
going in and out.
I yield. I'm gonna just listen. I yield.
Oh, you good now?
Okay. All right. So looking at Jacob's lower self before his name was changed to Israel, the foreshadowing, I assume he probably was, considered a worm by the Most High, but he was sacrificing himself for his kingdom, for the people. That's what I get from it. I don't really have too much.
Okay. No, that's on point. So we're talking about the aspect of the worm being a self-sacrificial worm, which is feasted upon by his offspring so that they may live. So it is speaking of self-sacrifice of Jacob, like you said, to become Israel. So we should all be sacrificing ourselves, right, for the benefit of those who are going to come after us. Jacob turns into Yisrael. The sacrifice of Jacob turns into the nation of Yisrael.
And then we forever have the scar on it. Like the scarlet worm, before it dies, it lets out the red dye, and the red dye then turns their children red, and they're forever scarlet for the rest of their lives. So they are not born that color. It's the mother who gives it to them.
Pretty much the blood of the worm turns into a mark, which
and then she becomes white and dies.
There's a whole lot of messianic connotation to it, which is why this would. I want to go to Shemot chapter 39:29 real quick. Exodus chapter 39:29. Only for you to see that the linen or the girdle of linen that the priest wore also had this scarlet dye unto it, which is a representation of the sacrifice of the priest as well. The priest also sacrifices himself to work, to teach, to atone for Yisrael. They do all of this in their life, selflessly sacrificing their wants and desires for that of Yisrael's. So when you look at that, you look at the worm, you look at the Messiah, you look at even Yeshua. He is a picture of the priest, which is why, talking to me, I call him Yahusha ben Yosef, or Messiah ben Joseph, for he is the priestly Messiah, the one who comes and sacrifices himself for Yisrael. So I want to go back to Numbers. Just wanted to go through that a little bit as far as the HalaYah Shani, because we know red is Adam. So they could have used the other word, but they used this for you to look into this scarlet worm. Okay, so we are at verse 7. Okay.
Yeah, verse 7. I'm picking up at verse 7.
Verse 7. The big word coming called Numbers. Again, picking up at verse 7.
Numbers,
And
chapter
a
19.
big word coming called Numbers, chapter 19.
The priest shall wash his clothes. He shall bathe
The
his
priest
flesh
shall
in
wash
oil.
his clothes.
And
He shall
afterwards,
bathe his flesh
shall
in
come
water.
into the camp.
And afterwards,
The priest shall be
shall come into
unclean
the
until
camp.
evening.
The priest shall be unclean until the evening. And he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until the evening. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place, and it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel, for a water of separation. It is a purification for sin. And he shall gather the ashes of the heifer, and shall wash his clothes, and be clean until the evening. And it shall be unto the children of Israel, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among them, for a statute forever. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean. Whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead, and purify not himself, defiles the tabernacle of Yahuwah. And that soul shall be cut off from among Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean, and his uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law when a man dieth in a tent. All that come into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. Every open vessel which hath no covering bound upon it is clean. Unclean. And whosoever toucheth one that is slain with a sword in the open field, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. And for an unclean person that shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer a purification for sin and running water, shall be put thereto in a vessel. And a clean person shall take the hyssop and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon the vessels, and upon the persons that were there upon him that toucheth a bone, or one slain, or one dead, or a grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, he shall purify himself, and wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be clean at evening. But the man that shall be unclean and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he had defiled the sanctuary of Yahuwah, of Yahuwah. The water of separation has not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean, and it shall be a perpetual statute unto them that he that sprinkleth the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that toucheth the water of separation shall be unclean until evening. And whosoever the unclean person shall touch, that shall be unclean, and the soul that toucheth it shall be unclean until evening.
Torah. So, question: how can you got to meet up? How can that which is unclean make you clean? So when you look into our ordinance, right, in Ezekiel chapter 36, it says, "I will sprinkle clean water." So that's Mayim Tahor. I will sprinkle pure water on you and cleanse you. But now this water is called Mayim Nidah, or Lemen Nidah, which we know that the Nidah is what? What is a Nidah? What else does the Nidah refer to in scripture?
Isn't that woman's cycle?
Okay. It is referring to the woman's cycle. So these are called the waters of separation, but it could be the waters of menstruation. So it says waters of, so that word nidah means impurity, filthiness, menstruous, set apart, impurity, of ceremonial impurity, of menstruation, impure thing, of idolatry, immorality. So how can these waters, which are described as being dirty waters, impure waters, idolatrous waters, immoral waters, how can these things cleanse you? Why would the Creator say that these are waters of separation? This is dealing with the dead, right? Only time you get this sprinkled upon you is when you are in contact with the dead, not even in contact with the dead body. If somebody dies well, let me let Yosef, and we're gonna kind of unpack this a little bit. It's a little interesting.
Shalom. This reminds me of the gentleman that had Zara'at, and he went into the he came to Naaman, came to Elisha, and I guess he asked them, can for him to be cleansed, and he told him to go dip himself in the Jordan, even though the Jordan was really dirty, and he was asking, how can this dirty water cleanse me? It's along the line the same thing. It's to me it means that it's whatever the Most High deems to be, as far as like waters is concerned, he can make it purify you.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the example that I got.
Yeah, I can see the parallels that you're using, but yes, so I can see the parallels that you're using. Yes, Yah has declared it to be something that makes you clean, but based off of what's in it, you have the ashes of a red heifer, you have cedar wood, which has medicinal properties, hyssop, medicinal properties, and a dead parasite. And you're mixing these things in water, which even the person who touches the person who touches the waters of impurity, they are unclean. So even with the person trying to cleanse you becomes unclean.
She done talking?
Mm-hmm.
Could that be like a physical reminder of how unclean that person is when they touch a dead body? You know, spiritually, what you can't be, you know, in the Most High's tabernacle where you're in an unclean state, whether it be of a dead body or a bone of a man. So maybe that water is just a physical sign or reminder of how unclean that person is, you know.
Remember that the heifer means to be separate, to be separated, to divide between two things. So this water, no, go ahead, Kaya. And you got to speak up because they can't hear you.
Whenever the Most High is cleansing or things like that, he always uses the thing that made you unclean or something similar to the thing that made you unclean in order to make you clean. If you get what I'm saying. And a lot of things, whenever he's trying to make you clean, he always uses that thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very interesting, because you were saying about the dead parasite that is also inside.
Yeah, but the only thing I can see based on what you just said was the serpent that we're gonna read about later. But outside of that, he doesn't really use that. Well, so he has set parameters on what makes you clean and what makes you unclean. But I do see what you're saying. So these waters, right? These waters are only for when you are in contact with dead things. But what he used, as Kyle said, which was the dead parasite, which sucks the life out of something, the red heifer, which means to separate. Then you have hyssop, which cleans. So it is cleaning the death off of you, in a sense, while making that person have to touch dead things. So that in itself is still a sacrifice even for that person. Now, I have a question. If it took 2,000 years for another red heifer to be born, how have we been living? How have we been in a state of perpetual death? And I ask that because it says that when somebody dies in a tent, that anything and everything that was in that tent is unclean. That's because the spirit of death is an unclean spirit. So when you are in an area, a closed area with that spirit of death, then you have also become unclean. It doesn't say that when it's talking about an open field or anything like that, because then you have to touch the body. But just being in a closed area, in intimate parameters. With death, you now, it is as if you are now dead as well. Which is why Yeshua said what he said, let the dead bury the dead. Because they were in a perpetual state of uncleanness, a perpetual state of death due to their separation from the Creator. So now that this red heifer has been born 2 years back to back, starting 2018, 2019, could that be a sign from the Creator that now it's time for you to separate yourself from that which has been declared dead? Which could be things within yourself that are dead, relationships that are dead, locations that are dead, occupations that are dead. Because most I say he speaks once, he speaks twice, but people don't. Consider, right? The dreams came from Daniel and from Pharaoh twice. So when things happen in twos, that's confirmation from the Creator that something is occurring. It has been stamped and confirmed. So the only thing that the Creator has put in place to make an impure person that has been in contact with dead clean has now been born. Okay. It's time to move toward life and leave the dead things behind. Go ahead, Ooze.
I was just sitting here thinking. So if you said that a red heifer was pretty much born every 2,000 years, so that means if anybody in our camp touched the dead body, you really couldn't purify yourself unless it was through the water of separation. And through the water of separation, you need a red heifer. So that means from the time that you touched that dead body until a red heifer came, you were considered unclean.
Okay.
And then two, I was thinking about math, right? So you got, let's say you got two positives, which equals a positive, but then you have a negative plus a positive, it equals a negative. But let's say you multiply two negatives, it equals a positive. But then you see what I'm saying? You multiply a negative and a positive, you get a negative. So I just was thinking about how you.
Okay. Israel has been in an unclean state, and you had only 7 days in order to get this right. You had to do it on 2 specific days, the 3rd day and the 7th day. If they fail to purify themselves on the 3rd and 7th day, they shall not be pure. And you had to purify yourself. So that means you had to go search out the waters and seek cleanliness. You are getting from amongst the dead, and now you are seeking that which makes you alive again. So what does that mean today? That means that you should be, one, trying to stay away from things that are dead. And if you are amongst that which is dead, you should be asking the Creator to make you clean again. But we don't have a red heifer, nor the temple, nor the priest. So everything right now would be spiritual connotation. So spiritually, are you still hanging amongst the dead? Are your conversations dead? Questions. Not gonna harken on it too much longer. If nobody has any questions. the Yobel, frees you from captivity. This is freeing you from being isolated, separating the waters of separation, separating what? Life from death. Death and life cannot occupy the same vessel. No more questions. We'll go to chapter 20.
I'll be reading
Well, I was gonna let Ooze read this chapter. Torah for chapter 19. Ooze, you gonna read chapter 19? 20, Slockley. Torah. Imam Millicent, Taquena, hold on real quick. Ooze.
I like what just was said about two negatives make a positive, but let's keep that in mind, that only have to do with mathematics, because when you look at a battery for a car to run, it takes a negative and a positive for that battery to move that vehicle. So some things in life would be negative for us. The positive thing for us would be when Yah come in the play and he let us know that he can make things unclean and clean, because he controls everything. He did that with Peter when Peter was talking about what he could eat and cannot eat. And Yah said, I tell you what you can eat, what's clean and unclean, because he controls everything. And when he feels like it's not on point, he'll turn it right back to what? The negative. Because it's only in a season when he want to do something to show us where we at. I yield.
Okay. The negative is there to push you forward. Okay. Man.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said that the negative is there to push you forward. The positive and negatives of life. The positive is there to reinforce. The negative is there to push you forward.
So if the negative there is there to push you forward, in actuality, the negative is actually a positive.
Okay, only if you see it that way, which is why it's all about your mentality. That's why he say, I chastise those who I love. So if you're looking at the chastisement as a negative, then you'll never understand why he's chastising you in the first place, so you can move on.
Yeah, he also heals you from the chastisement.
Okay.
Job, chapter 5:17 and down.
Mm-hmm. It's all about your mindset. That's why trials and tribulations come, in order for you to find out why and then move forward. It's either that or you're gonna be stuck wandering around in the wilderness like we're reading now. Okay. You ready, Ooze?
Okay. Chapter 20.
Yes, sir.
And the children of Israel, the whole congregation, came into the wilderness of Zin in the first month. And the people stayed in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. Now there was no water for the congregation, so they gathered together against Moshe and Aaron. The people contended with Moshe, both, saying, if only we had died when our brethren died before Yahweh. Why have you brought up the assembly of Yah into this wilderness, that we and our animals should die here? And why have you made us come up out of Egypt to bring us to this evil place? It is not a place of grain, or figs, or vines, or pomegranate, nor is there any water to drink. So Moshe and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and they fell on their faces, and the esteem of Yah appeared to them. Then Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, take the rod, you and your brother Aaron, gather the congregation together. Speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Thus you shall bring water for them out of the rock, and give drink to the congregation and their animals. So Moshe took the rod from before Yahweh as he commanded him. And Moshe and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock. And he said to them, hear now, you rebels, must we bring water for you out of this rock? Then Moshe lifted his hand and struck the rock with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their animals drank. Then Yah spoke to Moshe and Aaron, because you did not believe me, to set apart me in the eyes of the children of Israel. Therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given. This was the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with Yah, and he was set apart among them. Now Moshe sent messengers.
It's like that, okay. All right, so let's kind of go through this. I'm sure we've all heard of Moshe hitting the rock, right? It says twice. My question is simple. Why does the Most High say that you did not trust me? Like Moshe been walking with the Creator for quite a little bit now. And we see in everything that the Most High has asked him to do, he's done it. So why is the Most High saying you don't trust me? No.
I got a answer. Maybe he thought hitting the rock was a better way than speaking to it. So in that sense,
Why would he think that?
I don't know. It's my thought. Maybe he thought his way was better than the Most High's way for that second. Maybe in his emotions. My thought.
I asked you that question for a reason. Anybody else? Ooze?
What's the question again?
Why did the Most High tell Moshe and Aaron that they did not trust him? Go ahead, Ooze.
I wouldn't say that Moshe thought his way was better than the Most High. It's still Moshe at the end of the day. But I would say his frustration dealing with Israel, he probably acted out of character in that one instance, which caused him, to move contrary to the Most High. Yeah, I yield. It's still Moshe.
Okay. Deborah, you gotta have to speak up so they can hear you.
Maybe it was getting a little too overwhelming for them.
Go ahead. You said what?
Maybe it was getting a little too overwhelming for them because maybe they got scared that the people was just, I don't know, was gonna rise up against them. So they reacted. They didn't think, I don't know, at that moment, their action was like showing that the Most High, that they were more afraid of the people than him. So they reacted.
Okay. So let's go to the book of Imam. Or okay.
Seemed like you were waiting for somebody to say something else. So could it be that the lack of trust, and I couldn't tell if that's what Shashua was saying, but the lack of trust was because whoever heard of speaking to a rock to make water come out versus at least hitting it or doing something else other than speaking, no different than when they were having to go around Jericho and they spoke or yelled for the walls to come down. It's like he's doing something unconventional, and sometimes as the Most High does things that are unconventional, it does kind of jar your trust or your faith, because it's like, this defies everything that my logic says, or the way that my logic says it should be.
Yes, but Mom, he split the waters. Like logic is no longer in play. I would say logic is no more in play when it comes to Moshe and the Creator.
I think verse 12 is key.
Based on what he's already done for him. But I do get what you're saying. But then my question to you would be, why would he still be thinking logically when he has seen so much? I'm gonna go to Yosef.
I'm trying to get to the mute button. I think logic comes into play only because of the voices or the distractions and the noise around, which kind of distracts you from hearing what the Most High is saying and staying focused because of all of the noise and not being in a place of being set apart to really hear what he's saying. So you get caught in the moment in all of what's going on around you in the distractions.
Excellent, baby.
Okay. Yosef.
Okay, shalom, Shabbat shalom. Can you hear me?
Okay.
So I want to pose a couple of different ideas just to spark thought. So I'm looking at the interaction that that Moshe is having here. And just to kind of backtrack, you see that Moshe is having an interaction with the Creator generally by his lonesome. Like most of the interactions, if not all of them thus far, have been just Moshe and the Creator. In this case right here, I'm looking at verse 10 where it says, then Moshe and Aharon gather the people in front of this rock. So that's having two individuals having to deal with this situation right here, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm like, we have Moshe there who's been dealing with the Creator very much hands-on, but then I'm also looking at Aharon, who in the past had an issue with Moshe. Hypothetically speaking, you have two different mannerisms that are there, two different thoughts, especially with what's going on. Look out for the background noise. Especially with what's going on right now. Now I'm looking at it, it's like, man, you got two mannerisms of thought going on right now, right? Rather than it just being Moshe. Stop. So as we go down, you can kind of read almost between the lines and see the frustration that's being brewed up there. But I can't leave out Aharon because he's in the mix of this picture. So I'm like, is the doubt based upon two entities being there? Just to pose a question. And also that word for trust is very interesting because it's really, I can't say that they didn't trust him, but if I was to read the word that's there, they didn't show any, they didn't confirm the Creator. I wanted to try to use that word in there. So it's almost like saying, because you did not confirm me in front of these people because of their griping and complaining, this is what I have to do for you now. This is almost like a critical point for the people, but Moshe and Aharon together did not confirm the Creator, so to speak. That's just something that I'm looking at, just a different thought that I'm kind of tossing out there. I could be way off the mark, but that's just another thought that I see as well.
Okay. And I get where you're going in a sense, but we do see that Moshe and Aaron have been kind of tag teaming things throughout their time in the wilderness so far, and as well as in Mitzrayim. So I think that Miriam, which I'll get to in a little bit, she had most of the responsibility when it came to their first issue in Numbers 12, I believe. But now it's not necessarily two thoughts. but there are some things going on here. Right. One is Miriam is dead. Oh, yes, sir.
No. Finish your thought. Because I want to hear what you're going to say, but I want to just raise my hand and chime in right after.
Okay. Miriam is dead, right? So our sister just died, and now I'm having to deal with you reckless people again. Yeah, just reckless and very rebellious people again. And I'm not focused. Not because my brother is here, one, because my sister is not here. And now I'm having to hear y'all again, right? So E put something in the chat, which I was going to go to, which is Shemot chapter 17, right? He didn't put the verse and chapter in there, but so Shemot chapter 17, verse 6. It says, behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and you shall smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So the first time that this occurred, right, where there was a rock, the people were thirsty, and the people were getting on their nerves, the Most High told him to hit the rock. Hit the rock. Water's gonna come out, so on and so forth, right? So in this situation, Moshe does two different things. One, he starts to speak French. He says, we. Listen, you rebels, shall we get you water out of this rock? First mistake. He didn't tell you to switch languages. Right? Every other time, the creator is the one that gets the esteem. Now, when you join anything to the creator, which we're also going to touch in the next chapter, when you join something to the creator, you have just not established or not confirmed, right? The word that Joseph used. You have not confirmed the creator in front of the people. You are really confirming yourself and putting yourself up. So there is no we when it comes to the creator. He said, I created the heavens, the earth, and the fullness thereof. There was no deity beside me. There hasn't been before, there will not be after me, so on and so forth, right? So the first thing is the we. The second is the fact that based on him not being able to focus, he reverted back to what he knew. And that's kind of really where I want to touch on with us today is, are we so worried about the outside circumstances that while the creator is telling us to do something different in the same situation, we revert back to what worked in the past? And because of that, one, you are now rebelling against the creator and his instruction. And two, you are now putting yourself right beside the creator. So this is two things that Moshe is doing, not just one. Joseph, you had your hand up. I'm not sure if you wanted to still comment, Akeem.
Look, we can definitely hold midrash afterwards. Yeah. But Tosi for doing Torah about.
So wrong that. Okay, it was okay, Akeem. But so this is really where we have to look at the situation, right? Some people be like, nah, I would never hit the right. Ima, go ahead, Ima. Or it's okay. I don't know which one talking no more.
So when Moshe delivered the message to the people, he delivered with confidence. That's what he was trying to say. You didn't come in strong that you believe what he said is gonna happen. You see it all the time when we talk to each other. If you believe what's gonna happen, our voices change. We come with a confidence like this is gonna happen, and that's what it is. And when he went back to the people, he didn't do that because he didn't believe in his spirit what Yah told him to do. You got to believe it first in your spirit that Yah say, do this, do that, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And when you go back, you have to give it to the people as a leader that you have accepted what Yah says, and this is what it is. Well, Moshe didn't believe it. I yield.
Okay, I agree with, so if I take your statement outside the context of this, I 100% agree, and I'm gonna put that at the end of our conversation, because that's a big part of what we're gonna talk about. I'm not, so that word there, as Yosef was going to pull out, is I'm on, right? So believe. So to support, to confirm, to establish, to be carried is really to trust, right? To be certain. So I do understand what was okay to saying, like you weren't certain in what I'm doing, but that Moshe never had that issue before. Well, once you get past the Red Sea, he never had that issue. At the beginning, he was a little shaky. But at this point in Moshe's career, it's no fear. It's just a loss of focus. And when you lose focus on hearing the Creator's voice in the moment, you're going to revert back to whatever he said prior that helped you out in that same situation. Because you're already conditioned, as we were talking about earlier, you're already conditioned to do that. So based on you being conditioned, well, shoot, every time this happened, well, I need to do this. Or every time I get into an argument, all right, this is what I'm going to do. You have been conditioned. So now when something different has to happen, you are not focused enough to now move on to the next thing. It's like moving on to the next level. And we have to be ready to move on to the next level with the Creator and stop being distracted by what was. What was is not what is, unless you're talking about the Creator. Okay.
Here's just conjecture. Do you think, because you said something about his sister, do you think his sister passing away made his heart unclean?
I don't know about his heart being I don't know about his heart being unclean, but cloudy, yes. If this the person that prophesied, I'm gonna be here and so on and so forth, I've been walking with her all this time now, yes, and now she's gone. Anybody who loses a sibling that you're close to, your mind isn't going to be 100% focused. Then when you got somebody else on your back, like the people who constantly just can't get right, a whole bunch of can't get rights, you're not going to be as sharp as you would have been. But we are going to speak something else about her death that we'll speak on in a little bit. Does anybody else have any questions upon this? Go ahead, Yosef.
Trying to hold my questions back. So quick question. In this case right here, right? Just speaking presumptuously, can a close relative or a close friend, anyone of the sort like that you call kin, right? Can that person distort the vision that the Most High gave you in that moment in time? And I pose my question with this support. So I'm looking at it, right, and I still can't get my finger off of Aharon because he's in the mix. Because I'm looking at the past incidents that happened with Aharon specifically, and even though he is a Kohen HaGadol, and I get it, they've been rolling together up until this point. But even still, I'm looking at the past incidents where the people he was easily moved by the people. I'll say it like that, right? So yes, he was moved by the people. Yes, he was moved by Miriam because he wouldn't even pulled upon Moshe like that. You know, saying if it wasn't some bug put in his ear. And I'm trying to keep it in the context like that. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, the people obviously had an issue here that arose Moshe to do what he did. But again, I'm like, can I truly say that Moshe, I think we all said it, that Moshe didn't trust the Creator? I can't definitively say that based on everything that's already happened and transpired. But I also can't take my thumb off of Aharon being in the mix, and something's pricking my spirit to point that out. So I'll go ahead. I see somebody else.
The only thing that is different from this time, as opposed to the other numerous of occasions where the people have threatened to stone them or whatever, right? Most times you see Aaron and Moshe falling on their face before the tent, right? That's a constant thing, is both of them falling on their face before their creator. The one thing that is different as of up until this point right here is Miriam's dead. My sister is dead. So that I would more point toward Miriam not being there as opposed to Aaron being there, based on you seeing just a couple, just last portion that the people acted crazy with Qorach, Moshe, Aaron fall on their face. Aaron has just been chosen by the Creator, right? Then after that, the situation happened where the plague breaks out. Moshe falls on his face. He tell Aaron what to do. Aaron go get the incense, run between the people. So Aaron is he been moving smooth outside of the golden calf. The only thing that Aaron has done so far in the wilderness that kind of was a negative or a hit on his resume was the golden calf situation.
What about his sons? Just before his sons?
Well, this is the golden calf was before his sons, but he didn't have anything to do with his sons.
Right.
His sons did that on their own, which is why he was told you can't mourn, and he didn't. And he still fulfilled his purpose. Ima, I'm gonna let you go, and then Yosef, you can respond because I hope so, because that'll give me a chance to get back.
Well, the issue that I have with the comment about not sure whether or not trust is an issue, the scripture says, but the Most High said to Moshe and Aaron, because you did not trust. So we can't dispute whether or not there was an issue of trust when it clearly states that the Most High said there was an issue of trust. That's all I wanted to say.
Yosef? Yosef gonna answer.
Hey, Joseph. Okay, all right. So Ima, I get what you're saying, right? I gotta wash my hands a little bit. I get what you're saying about what the scripture says, right? It says you did not trust me, but it also means you did not confirm me, you did not establish me. Like the word there for trust could have different connotations to it. And you did not, it said you did not trust me enough to affirm my sanctity in the sight of the Israelite people. So is this in regards to them not trusting, as in, well, I don't know if I speak to the rock instead of hitting it, maybe water won't come out. I don't think that was their conversation. Because even when you go further on, right, and we're reading in the book of Deuteronomy, and he's saying, and the Most High was mad at me for your sakes, right? So that would mean that Moshe is putting the blame of him not trusting the Creator onto the people, which will be another allegation that we would have to raise up against Moshe, which I don't think that would be a righteous allegation, because outside of the beginning of his career, he has not, and even then he just didn't want the job, but he has never doubted the Creator or not trusted the Creator to bring him out. That's why I have a hard time saying that word trust is regarding him not believing that if he spoke to it, that the water would come out. And the fact that it says my sanctity, right? So it says to sanctify me in the eyes. So kadash, which means to set apart, to consecrate, to be separate. So to separate my sanctity as opposed to we. When he said we, that means that the Most High is no longer set apart to himself, that we are together. So now and that would have to be only if your mind is not in the right place. Why would you put yourself with the Creator? Knowing that you're the one who gave the decree that have no other Elohim before my face, which means don't have anything around me. Don't put anything in my vicinity. If that makes sense, Mom. So I get what y'all are saying, but in the context of all we know about Moshe and what we know about this situation, to say that the trust is the trust that we believe it is, I just don't see the evidence in that thought. So hope that makes sense, Barbara. We can talk. We continue to talk about it because it's a great topic. But so I'll be quiet if somebody else has any questions or thoughts. Okay. If that's the case, Ooze, can you continue verse 13?
Okay. Verse 13. This was the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel contended with Yah, and he was set apart among them. Now Moshe sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. Thus says your brother Israel, you know all the hardship that has befallen us, how our fathers went down to Mizraim, and we dealt in Mizraim a long time. And the Egyptians afflicted us and our fathers. When we cried out to Yah, he heard our voice and sent the messenger and brought us up out of Egypt. Now here we are in Kadesh, a city on the edge of your border. Please let us pass through your country. We will not pass through fields or vineyards, nor will we drink water from wells. We will go along the king's highway. We will not turn aside to the right hand or to the left until we have passed through your territory. Then Edom said to him, you shall not pass through my land, lest I come out against you with the sword. So the children of Israel said to him, we will go by the highway, and if I or my livestock drink any of your water, then I will pay for it. Let me only pass through on foot, nothing more. Then he said, you shall not pass through. So Edom came out against them with many men and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his territory. So Israel turned away from him. Now the children of Israel, the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came to Mount Hor. And Yah spoke to Moshe in Aharon in Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aharon shall be gathered to his people, but he shall not enter the land which I have given to the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the border of Meribah. Take Aharon and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aharon of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son, for Aharon shall be gathered to his people and die there. So Moshe did just as Yah commanded him, and they went up to Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. Moshe stripped Aharon of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aharon died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moshe and Eleazar came down from the mountain. Now when all the congregation saw that Aharon was dead, all the house of Israel mourned for Aharon 30 days.
Okay, good. I keep talking about. So one, we see Esau wilding out. Esau not allowing us to get through the land. That's one of the things that the Creator holds against them. However, he told you not to hold it against them, right? Deuteronomy 7:6, you shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother, right? So even through that situation, we know Edom's character. But then we go down and we see Aaron and Eleazar. So in this chapter, Moshe's brother and his sister transition. Both of them are transition. And Eleazar is now becoming the Kohen HaGadol. And we see Moshe now being decreed that he's not going into the land. Before this chapter, Moshe was going into the land. It was that one incident that made him not go into the land. And Aaron, because it said he's not going into the land. He is not to enter the land that I have assigned to the Israelite people, because you disobeyed my command about the waters of Meribah. So because of Moshe's statement and his actions, Aaron was not allowed to go in either. Which means that he stood there. That means that the Most High believes that Aaron was complicit. Not that he's the one who brought it up, but he was complicit in his brother's speech and his wrong actions. So in action and in speech, Moshe rebelled against the Creator.
He was the older brother too.
Okay, and yeah, he was the oldest, firstborn. So he allowed his younger brother to, through word and through deed, to rebel against the Creator. And because he allowed that, he was not allowed to go into the land. Yeah, firstborn, because you allowed your younger people to rebel against the Creator, you can't get what you're supposed to get. Okay, an accessory. Yosef, hold on. Go ahead, Deborah.
It was just Moshe and Aharon at that point, right? It wasn't the people too?
What?
That they weren't able to go to the land?
Oh, the people were already on a death sentence. They were already on a death wall.
Okay.
At this point, Moshe, Aaron, Yehoshua, and Caleb were the only ones over 20 that were going to go into the land. This is proven right. This chapter, Aaron, he's not to enter the land that I have assigned to the people because you disobeyed. That means that if that didn't happen, Aaron was going in.
Okay.
Moshe, we know that he was going in because he was the one that was leading them so far. And of course, we know Jacob and Caleb.
But if he had said something to his brother,
if he possibly would have corrected Moshe, we would have probably had a different conversation. Because who is the we that Moshe was talking about? He said, must we give you order? Yeah. Who's the we? Yeah, no, don't add me in that. I'm not giving you. Ain't no we, it's him. So we see that, right? So I have a question. What's the difference between Aaron and Miriam's death?
She didn't get a judge.
Oh. Aaron, he just left on the mountaintop. I was listening to when I was at work, and I was thinking that was embarrassing. Miriam, she was buried, and then they took his garment and his son. Yeah. He just left like a. I want to say. I was gonna leave it at that.
Oh, you don't think they buried him?
It doesn't say it.
Yeah, he took it.
Nah.
He stripped him out.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, they stripped him down, but he would have been buried on top of that mountain. Deborah?
Miriam had a natural death, and I would say that Aharon was killed by the Most High instantly, while his brother and his son watched him die.
Yeah,
instantaneously.
It would have been peaceful. It wouldn't have been like he did.
Maybe he showed himself to him.
It would have been peaceful. Same thing happened with Moshe. Moshe had to go. Yeah.
Go to the mountain.
Yeah. It was an honorable. It was an honorable transition. He still went in peace. But that's not the main. No.
They got called from the principal's office and died.
Ain't going back. It was honorable. The Most High had to take his life.
Those
Yeah, that's
it
what
could
I
have been
just
worse.
said. She had a natural death, and he didn't.
The earth could have swallowed them up.
That was a supernatural death.
We don't know how Miriam died. There's something else that is a difference between Aaron and Miriam.
That he got a judgment right before. He was gathered to the people, and she wasn't.
Oh.
They mourned for 30 days.
There you go. Okay. Thanks.
She wasn't that important.
Yosef? No, she was important, but I'm about to Yosef.
Okay, Maisha took my answer on that one, but I was gonna harp on the aspect of the mount itself too, because we see a lot of times, especially the book of Genesis, that a lot of men that are men of name, I'll say like that, those individuals basically had mountains named after them, representing their status. And I thought that was pretty interesting because it's basically saying that he died on almost like a mountain of mountains. That's what Aharon had died on. So Hor means mountain. So whatever mountain they were on, this was a mountain. There's no distinguishing about that. So he died at a very, very prestige place, at a very, very prestige level where he was at in his life. Not disregarding the fact of what he did, but there was still a level of honor for the things that he did do. Kind of like what Mahak already brought out, like what he did for the people.
Hold on, Deborah, and then I got you.
The people mourning for him for 30 days, that shows you how much of an influence he was. So if he didn't die, that one incident could have influenced the people to rebel against the Most High even more.
But it wasn't him who rebelled.
But they saw it was the both of them.
Wasn't the both of them.
But when they said we, he just made them into like a unit, and they saw that as a unit.
Okay.
It was him that did it, but at that point he yoked them as a unit,
and
they saw that at that point.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so that term, gathering to his people, does that mean he was sealed by the Most High? Is that just a term used to describe someone, transition?
Gathering to his people is usually just a phrase used for somebody who transitions. Ooze?
I want to be gathered.
I literally just had the thing with big shot. Like, even though he didn't make it into the land, him nor Aharon, do you think that they still were sealed in the book of seals?
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, of course, that's just my thought, my opinion. But yes, Moshe and Aaron were definitely two of the great men in Israel. The Most High still spoke about Moshe. He didn't necessarily, and he still spoke about Aaron, and the promises that he gave to both of them. So even though they didn't get into the promised land physically or on this plane, when it comes to judgment, I don't doubt that the Most High will allow them to enter in. Because if they don't enter in, I don't know who in Sheol is entering in. Yeah, so I pray they do make it in, because that be the Most High is merciful. And maybe we can make it in too. But okay, so two things. One, he was mourned for 30 days, right? Which is an entire month. Miriam was not mourned for when you go to the first verse, right? Which I have a question. What does Miriam mean? No, it doesn't mean water, Deborah.
And that was it. They just said it, and then
that was a wrap. They moved on.
that's different.
Miriam is water with the rash, but it means what?
Rebellion.
Yeah, Miriam means rebellion. We don't mourn for the death of rebellion.
See, oh, okay. Same thing happened with son.
Rebellion means that if your parents tell you to do something and you consciously do something else, you have just rebelled. Which is as witchcraft, which we don't allow witches to live.
So she was a rebel?
That's her name. Well, yeah, she was definitely a rebel. Now against the creator, no. But her name means rebellion. So, like I was saying, we do not mourn for the death of rebellion. And this is the beginning of this chapter, and you see what? Her name means rebellion. She's died, it's being killed and buried there. Then the people cause Moshe and Aaron to rebel. Aaron in the same chapter, Most High don't waste no time. Go ahead, get you up out of here. And Moshe, I'm gonna get you up out of here. I just need you to do a couple more things for me, then you gotta go too. So we're looking at the creator now is killing off the rebellion, which is interesting because you go to chapter 19, right? We just read about the separation of what? Life and death. Obedience is what? Huh? So rebellion equals, okay, so now there's being a separation drawn between life and death.
At this point right here, they not even they more than examples. Like,
Okay. Can you be a positive rebel? Yes. Yisrael is a nation of rebellion. We are a nation of rebels. So can you be a positive rebel? Absolutely. When you rebel against the system, when you rebel against everything that is against the creator, we are a nation of rebels. Ima was okay.
So Moshe was upset because Yah took his sister away. But Yah had to take the sister away so Moses, can grow. She was in the way of what he was trying to tell him to do. So when you're not in the same line, when Yah wants you to do something, he move off things and people in your life to accomplish what he needs to be done as a leader. Because still, let's keep in mind, he still is a leader, a great leader. So his sister was in the way. She couldn't hear what Yah was telling the leader to do. And the only thing she was doing in the way. Can you hear that sometime? I ain't hear it. Why we doing this? Because when we talk to people that's close to us, we want to get feedback. When we get the feedback be, I wouldn't do that. Where you hear that from? He says, I heard it from Yah. She said, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And when we got people in our lives that do that, we can't move them away. We let them stay around. We call them our best friends. We call them my best friend. And they keep us from moving forward. But we call them my best friend. But Y'all said, guess what? I take them out the way. Because I got a job for you to do. HalaYah.
And when you cry over that which has just been removed, then you have just rebelled as well. Which is why the Most High told Shemuel, like, yo, you like, how long you gonna mourn for Shaul? I got a job for you to do. I need you to go anoint Daud. So you can't mourn for those who are against the creator.
It kind of goes back to what we were reading earlier today in Remnant 16.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Don't mourn for
Well, that I don't know if that's in Jeremiah 16, but he did tell Jeremiah not to pray for them no more. Like, I'm not gonna hear you for these people. Like, stop praying for them. It's a wrap. Because now what you're doing is you want the Creator to okay them rebelling. You want the Creator to say that what they're doing is okay, instead of standing on the side of the Creator. So now what you have just done is place yourself against the Creator, which is why I believe, as James just said, that the love of the world or the world is at enmity with the Creator. So if you are loving the things of the world to where you want the Most High to okay those things, now you have just put yourself on the other side. Once again, separation of life and death.
It says don't enter in the house of mourning. So it said, let's say, enter not into the house of mourning, not to go and say, land it nor remove them, for I have taken away my peace from the street. Said even the loving kindness and mercies.
Okay. When the Most High has removed himself from somebody, you should do what the Most High told Moshe to tell the people: get away from their tent. Because we just read that if somebody die in the tent and you in the tent, now you dirty too. He gives you an opportunity. We don't. So therefore, if you are in rebellion against the Creator and people begin to move away from you, you can't get mad at them. More than likely you will, because you're in rebellion, but you can't get mad at them. They're doing what the Creator told them to do, which is get away from you and your tent. Are there any other questions on that? Thoughts, comments?
Well, I was thinking about how a situation like this, I can see how easily that can happen in today's time. Someone, let's say, doing something else, doing Shabbat, and it's just two other brothers just sitting there, laughing with him, whatever he's doing, and then, they're guilty as well. So.
Okay. Or the whole earth mourning over George Floyd. Like it's certain stuff that we have done and we have got behind that was rebellious to the Creator, which is why they were judged in the first place. And we mourned and prayed and all of that for the same people who were rebelling against your Creator. They on the wrong side. What do you? I mean, it's rough. It's rough to be like, dang. Well, I mean, I get it. We care about people, but at the same time, is who you with.
Yeah. She following the commandments.
See, what people say stuff like that, but you don't know. You don't. So only thing you can do is some people for cable. We tell them this is Shabbat. We don't really, and I don't want to do that anyway. Okay, so we got to be careful who we join ourselves to. Got to be very careful who we join ourselves to, and who we decide to mourn for. I say that. So if that's it, we're gonna go to chapter 21. Try not to. We're just gonna keep going. When the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negev, learned that Yisrael was coming by the way of Atharim, he engaged Yisrael in battle and took some of them captive. Then Yisrael made a vow to Yah and said, if you deliver this people into our hand, we will prescribe their towns, which means to put them under the ban. Yahuwah heeded Yisrael's plea and delivered up the Canaanites, and they and their cities were prescribed. So that place was named Kormah. They set out from Mount Hor by way of the Sea of Reeds to skirt the land of Edom, but the people grew restive on their journey. And the people spoke against Elohim and against Moshe. Why did you make us leave Egypt to die in this wilderness? There is no bread and no water, and we have come to loathe this miserable food. Israel, crazy. Yahuwah sent seraph serpents against the people. They bit the people, and many of the Israelites died. The people came to Moshe and said, we sinned by speaking against Yahuwah and against you. Intercede with Yah to take away the serpents from us. And Moshe interceded for the people. Again.
And now they know what is going to, before they had to do something to atone for the people. But now we're at the situation where the people get it now, but yet they still don't take it seriously.
Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, make a seraph figure and mount it on a standard. And anyone who was bitten who looks at it shall recover. Moshe made a copper serpent and mounted it on a standard. And when bitten by a serpent, anyone who looked at the copper serpent will recover. So a couple things here.
No, look at it as you get healed. If you got bit.
So who got bit? Everybody got bit? Nah. Everybody didn't get bit.
People who spoke against the Most High.
So there were people who were bit, who said, we sinned by speaking against Yahuwah and you. So the people who sinned against the Creator and the one who he sent was bit. Now it said, the Most High said in verse 8, right? Anyone who was bitten who then looks at it shall recover. And then said, anyone who looked at the copper serpent will recover. The reason why your language is important is that these are two different words. This look is ra'ah, which means to see, perceive, so on and so forth, right? This word is nabat, which means to take consideration, to regard, to look at it in a certain manner. So y'all asked for something. Moshe put something on a stick. Now you would have to look at it. Well, let me ask y'all, how did they have to look at it? It doesn't say how they had to regard it. It is said you got to look at it. Which nabat once again means to look at, to consider. So what are you considering when you're looking at this copper serpent?
And you will be healed.
I believe.
Okay. So you had to look at it with the mindset of, I will be healed due to my belief in what? You're being healed by looking at it, regarding it, based on your belief in what?
What's that serious?
Yeah. He did, yeah, he's definitely serious. That this is what the Creator sent for this time. This is what he made in order to heal me. To bring me back from death to life. To bring me back from death to life, this is what he made.
You're saying the same thing he used, the same thing he was using to kill me, he's using it to bring back to life, is what you're saying?
Okay, which is what Kyle was saying earlier, which is why I said this is the only time where you necessarily would see that.
This is that I was thinking about. I don't know if there's a connection or not. But I noticed that, like, for example, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, on their symbol is like a serpent that's on a stick or a pole. And you know, most medical fields. So I was wondering if that was a correlation to this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, it is.
Yeah. They kind of just put their own sort of.
Okay, they did what they wanted to do with it, but yes.
That makes sense though. Wow. Because they use it in the medical field as if like, come get healed.
Okay.
We can help you, but it's also a sign of
Yeah, they're killing you in it. But yeah, all right. So it's the same thing that, well, that which killed you, something that came in this figure, right? Because it wasn't that serpent that bit you, but it was something that looked similar to what bit you that healed you. This look is to internally regard rather than surface perception. Cain. The Ra'ah or the Ra'ah is something that you look at internally.
Yeah, not just from the outside.
Cain. That's Nabat. Nabat is to look at it internally. So Cain. So this, I want to go to 2 Kings real quick, because this is something that I think we miss, especially in Messianic community. So in John 3, right before the famous 3:16, he said, as the bronze serpent was lifted up in the time of Moshe, so shall the Son of Man be lifted up. So that whoever looks upon him, let's get that real quick. It's John 3:16. I can't put it on the screen because so far, no, it's not 3:16. It's
15 or
14. And as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we need to understand. One, everybody wasn't bit in the wilderness. So the serpent wasn't for everybody.
Okay.
Two, well, in John, right, it said that you believe in him. Now, were you believing in him, or were you believing that he's sent? And were they believing in the serpent, or were they believing in the one who sent the serpent?
Well, I think, based off what happened to the serpent, in the future.
Which we're gonna get to. Go ahead.
It's good how they made that comparison, because some people think of Mashiach, they don't think of the Most High, they don't think of Mashiach. So
Okay. They think of they only look at the serpent and they begin to worship the serpent. Now, when we go to the Tanakh, we go down to 2 Kings, and we go to chapter 18. Hold on. Yeah. In the 3rd year of King Hoshea, son of Elah of Yisrael, Hezekiah, son of King Ahaz of Yehuda, became king. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother name was Abi, daughter of Zechariah. He did what was pleasing to Yahuwah, just as his father Daud had done. He abolished the shrines, smashed the pillars, and cut down the sacred posts. He also broke into pieces the bronze serpent that Moshe had made. For until that time, the Israelites had been offering sacrifices to it.
What?
And it was called Nehushtan. So we see here that something that was only created for a particular, it was only sent for a particular time period. It was only for a particular time period. So we took that, which was for a particular time period, and 500 years later, we're still they were worshiping and even gave it a name. They gave it a name and worshiped it. They gave it a name, Nehushtan, and they worshipped it, which Nehushtan just means a bronze thing. A bronze thing was was being worshipped. Hanan Me'el.
And Shabbat Shalom. I just thought about something. So is this that same bronze serpent? Because it seemed like those are two different time periods, because that one was put up when they was in the wilderness. And I don't think that was in the land yet, but then we get the 2 Kings and it says it's the same one. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the same one. They kept it.
Oh, so they brought it with them.
Yes, they kept it.
Bet. Okay.
They kept it, they gave it a name, and they began to worship that which was only for a period of time. So now when you listen to Yahusha, who knows that it was destroyed? Yahusha knows that this thing was destroyed in the time of his forefather Hezekiah. So why would he compare himself to this?
Talking about the John 3.
Where he said, and as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the Son of Man be lifted up. The Son of Man and the serpent would be being compared to each other. That's what he's comparing to the Son of Man, the serpent, who he knows was destroyed. Which, when you go through his entire ministry, he's trying to separate himself from the Creator and make sure all esteem goes to the Creator. But we, just like our forefathers over a 400 or 500 year period, have taken that which the Creator has sent and has made it a deity all unto itself. Oops.
It could have been foreshadowing.
Breaking up a little bit, Akeem. You're not even breaking up. You just low. If you come to your mic, you good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right. I was going to say it could be a foreshadowing how our people would look at Hamashiach and praise him over Yah, and two, just as Yahusha was being offered for the sins of Israel and for the Goyim, the same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like that correlation is, still the same thing to me.
Okay. He's letting you know that he's prophetic. He's letting you know what's going to happen to him too. Now the image that we have created of him must also be destroyed. The idol that was created in his image has to be destroyed. It said Hezekiah did what pleased the Creator. And we just read about Moshe attaching himself to the Creator. So when you attach, when you attach Yahusha to the Creator in any way, you have just now done the exact same thing that got Moshe disqualified from entering into the land. Now you are putting that accusation on Yahusha when he never did it himself. He never connected himself to the Creator, other than saying, I and him are one, which we're all supposed to be one in mind. When you see me, you see the Father, which is just a manifestation of his character. But when you say that he is doing things in himself, or, well, it was him and the Creator who did that, la.
Well, one thing I used to hear people say, like maybe on social media, but I think it's out of ignorance. They say, when Christ created the earth,
Yeah.
But a lot of them, I think it's come out from ignorance, but it's just something that I hear.
They mix them up. Yeah. And they don't realize they do.
There's nothing new under the sun. Okay.
He was also kind of used like to amplify people's belief, like when he was walking on this earth, like everyone who he I guess everyone who like chilled with him like was with him, like they ended up believing.
Okay. Which is what we're supposed to do, right? Which we're gonna get into that in a little bit once we finish this chapter. But the whole thought of this Nekushtan, or this bronze thing, is exactly what has happened over time, right? We have continuously kept that which the Creator used for a moment for his esteem and for our benefit. We have used it and isolated it from the Creator, right? The one who sent it. And now we worship that instead of the one who sent it. And until that type of mentality is destroyed, then we will continuously be in a state of uncleanliness.
It's like we have to always see something. We just can't live with the fact that Yah is who he is and that he is spirit. We have to put something in the place because it makes us feel better to see, touch, and control something. Because whatever it is that we worship or we put in a place of Yah is usually something that we can control. We don't like the fact of how Yah moves sometimes.
Okay. Hanamel.
Yeah, just to land back to what your wife was saying. I think we do that because the Most High is we can't see him. You know what I'm saying? It's not something tangible that we can touch or put eyes on. So it's like whatever comes, you know what I'm saying? It's like okay, let's worship this thing because this is what we see it as freeing us, not realizing that it's the Most High due to him being is it intangible or untangible? But you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Intangible. But if you see me, you seen the Father, right? Y'all ain't ready for that conversation. Go ahead.
That's what I was gonna say. So he did us a huge favor when he sent his son there. Or
how? When you saw, if you were in the time of Daniel and you saw Daniel, did you not see the Father?
No, you saw the Father with that fire coming down.
When the Creator was sending fire from the Shamayim through his servant HalaYah, did you not see Yah?
Because yeah, you know that.
he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. Which is why it makes it much more worse. I was just asking that because what you said is very true. We do that a lot, so that's why I was like, so he did us a favor by doing that because obviously all the other stuff they couldn't see it. So I guess perhaps he kind of tried to make a different approach at it. I don't even know. Like
he tried to come a different way.
Yeah, like how he tried it all.
Go ahead, sis.
I would say
HalaYah.
Big Brother is, some people need training wheels in the Torah. Some people don't need training wheels. I would say Yahushua is training wheels. And if you can just get on the bike, then you don't need that training wheels. You just could go straight for you and the Creator, I'll just say.
Nah, he not training wheels.
Not training wheels.
He's a real deal.
Nah, he not the training wheels. He's the unicycle.
What?
The one wheel.
I mean, I know what you.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Can you? My
so-
brain couldn't wrap around that.
So you say he's training with
Yeah.
when you heard Yahushua speak, priests couldn't understand him. So Yahushua was, when he spoke to the people, he gave it to you in parables, right? Only for you to begin to grasp these spiritual things. Moshe, if you want to call anybody training wheels, Moshe was the training wheels.
Gave it to you plain as day.
Plain as day. Don't steal. Plain as day. You see somebody dunking in the ditch, help him out.
But our people like mysterious things.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
they can't.
Look how disrespectful they were to Moshe, though.
They were gonna kill Yahushua on various occasions. So they were disrespectful.
Period.
Wickedness doesn't like righteousness, no matter how
what you look like,
no matter how great of an orator they may be. Wickedness does not like righteousness. So when you see Yahushua, I say that he's a unicycle because you have to understand when he says you have to be born twice, one of water and one of blood. What does that mean? Nicodemus actually had to ask him, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You said what? Or Nicodemus?
No, I ain't say
What you said?
I said Nicodemus, not
okay.
Yeah. Nicodemus had to ask him, yo, like, what's up with you? And he was like, if you don't understand earthly matters, how am gonna tell you about heaven?
Kingdom talk.
How we gonna talk about kingdom? You don't understand that. The kingdom is within you. What does that mean?
Okay, so you're saying that he was a little harder than that. He was a little harder though.
He came to set the people's heart back to the creator on a basic level. You have to get your heart right. His ministry was once you get your heart right, then the kingdom can begin to manifest. The kingdom can't manifest if your heart is dirty. Because now you're going to manifest something that is tainted. So once you get your heart together, this is Yahushua would say, once you get your life together, then come holla at me. That's why he told the people, yo, you see the Pharisees, whatever they teach, that's what you do. Because once you can understand what they teaching, all right, now we can come and we can build on something. But I can't, we're gonna get into, oh ye of little faith. Like, yo, like, why do I gotta come and talk to y'all so much? Like, you don't get it yet?
I could really have ADHD. They hard-headed, you know.
You don't get it? So when you're talking about him being Cain, what?
He just said he came to do basics. Get your heart.
No, the heart.
Your heart is not the basic.
The heart isn't the basic, which back to the conversation me and Kyle were having. The basics is the carnal part of it. Torah is spiritual, but you don't get to the spiritual level without doing the physical basic level. The foundational level of Torah is very important before you can go into prophets, before you can go into Enoch, before you can go into anything like that. You need to get the basics down. So he was trying to find other ways to tell you the exact same thing, and then build on that. So he will be building with his disciples, and he will be talking crazy to the Pharisees because y'all already supposed to know Torah. So now that you know Torah, now I can talk about you being born again. Since you already know Torah, scribes and Pharisees, now I can talk to you about the kingdom being manifested and stuff like that, because you're already supposed to know these things. But let me go and get through this because I want to kind of get to something else. So the Israelites marched on and encamped at Obeth. They set out from Obeth and encamped at Abarim in the wilderness belonging to Moab to the east. From there they set out and encamped at Wadi Zered. From there they set out and encamped beyond the Arnon, that is, in the wilderness that extends from the territory of the Amorites. For the Arnon is the boundary of Moab between Moab and the Amorites. Therefore, the book of the wars of Yahweh speaks of Wahab and Suphah in the Wadis, the Arnon. We don't know what the book of the wars of Yah is at all. With its tributaries, Wadis stretched along the settled country of Ar, hugging the territory of Moab. And from there to Be'er, which is in the well, where Yahuwah said to Moshe, assemble the people that I may give them water. Then Yisrael sang this song. Spring up, O well, sang to it. The well which the chieftains dug, which the nobles of the people started with maces with their own staffs, and from Midbar to Matana, and from Matana to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamath, and from Bamath to the valley that is in the country of Moab, at the peak of Pisgah, overlooking the wasteland. Yisrael now sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, let me pass through your country. We will not turn off into the fields or vineyards, and we will not drink water from wells. We will follow the king's highway until we have crossed your territory. But Sihon would not let Yisrael pass through his territory. Sihon gathered all his troops and went out against Yisrael in the wilderness. He came to Yahaz and engaged Yisrael in battle. But Yisrael put them to the sword and took possession of their land from Arnon to the Yabuk, and as far as Oz of the Ammonites, for Oz marked the boundaries of the boundary of the Ammonites. Yisrael took all these towns, and Yisrael settled in all the towns of the Amorites, and Heshbon and all of its dependencies. Now Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab, and taken all his land from as far as the Arnon. Therefore the bars would recite, "Come to Heshbon, firmly built and well founded is Sihon's city. For fire went forth from Heshbon, flame from Sihon's city, consuming Ar of Moab, the lords of Bamath by the Arnon. Woe to you, O Moab! You are undone, O people of Chemosh. His sons are rendered fugitives, and his daughters captive by an Amorite king Sihon." I just want to pause. You see, "O people of Chemosh," he's talking about their deity. So Moabites are the people of Chemosh, or this deity, as we are the people of Yah. So you see, every country has, anyway, it's not important. "Yet we have cast them down utterly. Heshbon along with Dibon. We have wrought desolation at Nophah, which is hard by Medeba. So Yisrael occupied the land of the Amorites. Then Moshe sent to spy out Yazer, and they captured its dependencies and dispossessed the Amorites who were there. They marched on and went up to the road to Bashan, to the king of Og, of Bashan, with his troops, came out to Edrei to engage him in battle. But Yahuwah said to Moshe, do not fear him, for I give him and all his troops and his land into your hand. You shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. They defeated him and his sons and all his troops until no remnant was left of him, and they took possession of his country. This is why our land extends so far, because even on our way to the land promised, we dug in a couple dudes' pockets, took everything they had. But yeah, so that's the end of the one more verse. The Israelites then marched on and encamped in the steeps of Moab across the Jordan from Jericho. That's the end of the Torah portion. HalaYah. So in chapter 21, you see more of us just walking around, just waiting for the time of judgment to pass on those 20 and up. And we took a couple more cities. So it's very interesting that this is called Kok, or statute, or decree, right? That's what this Torah portion is called, Chuka. So what is the decree or the statute that y'all see based on what we have went over so far? What will be something that you get from this? That's a decree from your creator.
I kind of think of the Shema,
Mm-hmm.
You saw, love you have all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. That's what I think of.
Keep moving. Okay.
If you love the Most High, that shouldn't mean that you obey. You obey him, you don't disrespect them, you don't put any idol up, none of that nonsense. So.
Okay. The same thing. Shortly. The same thing that Aaron did with the incense is the same thing that the Most High is talking about in this portion. Separate life from death. Separate life from death. Anything that is in your life that is alive, keep it away from that which is dead. Keep yourself away from that which is dead. Now, I got a couple questions, a couple more scriptures, and then we're gonna be done, right? What type of language is Hebrew? What type of language is Hebrew?
I would say a concrete language, straightforward.
Concrete, straightforward.
Direct.
Direct.
It involves a lot of, growth, some words.
Not the way you speak it, but keep going. Action based, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It is action based. So why is it that our faith is not action based? We Hebrew, right? Ibrim. The Hebrews. Emunah is an action based word. So why does our faith lack it? Right. What good is a Hennessy Venom GT? Anybody ever heard of that car?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that?
It's I believe it was one of the fastest cars. It still might be, I'm not sure. I don't do research on it that much. Oftentimes it's yellow, but yeah.
Okay. A Hennessy Venom GT. That's the fastest car in the world. That's at 270 miles per hour. So what good is it if you have that type of car, but you don't drive it?
To show off.
If you never drive it, how do you show it off?
Well, this,
if it stays in your garage and nobody knows you have it, what good is it?
Lip service. You can talk about it.
Yeah, you right. And that's all we do to our Hennessy Venom. I just like the fact that it's called Hennessy. But a Hennessy Venom GT. That's what we got. And we do not drive it. Go ahead.
Like just in case if you talk about it and someone will be like, can you prove it to me? Then you have it so you can prove it.
Oh, so you're gonna take somebody random to your house?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying.
Gotta be careful where you live. All right. We're gonna go to the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 4. And we're gonna read verse 1 through 7. And now, O Yisrael, give heed to the laws and rules that I am instructing you to observe, so that you may live to enter and occupy the land, the Elohim, Yahuwah, Elohim of your fathers is giving you. You shall not add anything to what I command you or take anything away from it, but keep the commandments of Yah, your Elohim, of your Elohim, Yahuwah, that I may enjoin unto you. You saw with your own eyes what Yah did in the matter of Baal Peor, which we'll talk about, I think, next week. That your Elohim Yahuwah wiped out from among you every person who followed Baal Peor, while you who held fast to your Elohim Yahuwah are alive today. See, I have imparted to you laws and rules as my Elohim Yahuwah has commanded me, for you to abide by in the land that you are about to enter and occupy. Observe them faithfully, for that will be proof of your wisdom and discernment to other nations, who on hearing all these laws will say, surely that nation is a wise and discerning people. For what nation, what great nation is there that has an El so close at hand as is our El, Yahuwah, whenever we call? What did y'all just hear? What did y'all hear?
I heard instruction.
Okay.
Straightforward instruction.
Haname El, what y'all hear?
Wisdom is keeping Torah, and other people supposed to glorify Yah through our behavior and our actions, or we supposed to be bringing people to Yah based upon how we live.
What else y'all hear?
Staying spiritually efficient.
Staying spiritually efficient. I like that. Staying spiritually efficient. What else? Come on, y'all. This is part of what I'm talking about. But go ahead.
You just gotta put the work in, basically.
Put the work in.
This is how people know you or see you. They see the nation as wise and discerning people.
Wise and discerning. I'm gonna give about 2 more. Somebody gonna get it, hopefully. Anything else?
No, what was the question again?
What do you see?
Observe them faithfully, because they will be proof of your wisdom.
So that's our wisdom. Our wisdom and our understanding.
I'm with you.
Say who?
Yeah.
Where you see that at? You saw that? You saw that somewhere?
Nah. They don't say it, but
yeah. It do though.
At the bottom.
Ooze, hold on, nah.
Has got so close at hand.
Ooze.
And this is your Elohim whenever we call.
Go ahead, Ooze.
I was gonna say Yah is our fortress. Do not fear.
Okay. But
He'll fight.
yes, he is. And kind of what Kaya was saying, Machine. Do you want to elaborate on reading verse 7?
You talking to me or Kaya?
Kaya.
Well, because of this, people will see that we are a great nation and that our Elohim is there whenever we call.
Yeah, cool. Yep. All he did was read that again, but it's okay though. I still love you. So the problem is, right? The Most High is beyond a Hennessy Venom GT. What good is the car if you don't drive it? The Most High said, what great nation is there, a El so close at hand, is as is our Elohim, Yahuwah, for whenever we call. The Most High is there for whatever you need. He's in every aspect of your life, but you don't call on him for those things. Yeah, it's wisdom to keep the commands. Cool. Are there things in your life that you need moved? Why have you not called the Creator in order for him to move in those regards?
Cain. I get what you're going. Get going.
For what great nation is there that has an El so close at hand? That means that he's in your Fave 5. For those who had a T-Mobile phone back in the day, they had the Fave 5. He's in your Fave 5. He should be number 1 on your speed dial, not voicemail. But we don't really believe that. You don't believe it, or else you would be calling upon him.
Well, you do believe it, but you have blockages that you know are there, and that's the struggle. The struggle is the things in our lives that we have allowed to block our relationship with the Creator. And because we don't believe we have the authority to move those things, we kind of just lay down.
I feel like we see those things happening for other people, but we don't think it's Yah. We think it's them doing it, or they manifested it themselves. So we mistake what Yah's doing for us with something else.
Okay. So you can't discern the Creator. Go ahead, Yosef.
Okay. Yeah, hear me pretty well?
Yes, sir.
Nah.
Okay. I'm gonna go back on what Sis said earlier in regards to we're the type of people that we like to relinquish that relationship with the Creator, with the mediator. And that's one of the things that I wanted to point out in regards to that, where the Most High came down on Mount Sinai to commune with the people, but the people were fearful. Just like Sis said, there's a blockage there, right? Evidently, that was fear at that moment. And I mean, 2022, that's still a thing, right? We're afraid to commune with our Creator. So we want to have a mediator to be between, that buffer right there, to commune with the Creator. Whereas really, just like Moshe just said here, you should have him on speed dial. You shouldn't be afraid to approach the living Elohim. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in 100% agreement with all that's been said.
Okay. And you should, right? So I want to go to everybody's. Oh, we got 2 hands, Ray. Okay, my fault. Hanan Me'el.
I was gonna say, and you know, it goes back to that intangible thing that I was saying, because it's like, you know, we could pray about something, and it's like if it don't happen immediately or when we think it should happen, then it's like, dad, did the Most High even hear, you know what I'm saying, what we even prayed about? So I think it's because it's like you can call, but it's like it ain't like you gonna hear a voice back like if I was to call another human or something like that. So I think it goes back to that intangible and lack of patience.
Okay. So definitely lack of patience, right? And not to pick on you, Hanan Me'el, but you said something that kind of struck me. You said it's not like you're gonna hear a voice back. And that's where I think a lot of the problems come in, that is when you are communing, right, which is, I believe, the root of communication. When you are communing, it is a back and forth, right? Our forefathers asked questions like, lead me, teach me. Like, they're asking the creator this, and they're expecting an answer back. The problem is we don't expect an answer back. We say, okay, I pray for this, I pray for that, Cain and Amen, and I get up and I walk away. That's just like you talking to your spouse, right? So you talking to your Isha, to Valerie, right? And you say something to her. You ask her a question. Then you get up and you walk out the room before she can answer you. Well, why did you ask me a question if you don't want the answer? Like, I do that to my Isha. Like, don't know. If you ask me a question, wait till I answer it. Because if you're asking me, that means you don't know something that you're asking me about. The same thing we do with the Toy. Go ahead, sis. You had your hand up, and then I'll keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, people say that all the time, like, you're not gonna hear nothing, and like, I don't know if a lot of people in this room have heard like my testimony, like before I came into the truth. Like, I wasn't even in the truth, and I prayed and I heard the Creator clear as day, immediately, and what He said was going to happen happened. So I don't ever believe that He won't be pleased, but I've had an elder tell me, "Oh, you didn't hear His voice," a couple of times. Well, whose voice did I hear? Because it happened just like it was said, and it happened quick. You know what I'm saying? I've been on the same path, the whole entire time. So I don't understand why people believe that He won't speak to you.
Just because they never heard it.
So I want to go real quick, and that's powerful, sis, because a lot of people don't think that's true. I want to go to Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 59, verse 1 and 2. It said, "Behold, Yahuwah's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he will not hear. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue have muttered perverseness. None have called for justice, none nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief, and they bring forth iniquity." You keep reading down, he just keep blasting them. But the beginning part is the most important part. It is you that have separated yourself from the Creator. So that rift that we've been talking about all day between life and death, you have jumped on the other side of that, and now you want him to speak across it. It doesn't work like that. When it said you draw near to the Creator, and he shall draw near to you. So as you are drawing nearer and closer to life, the Creator is waiting for you on that side and actually drawing near to you to pull you back over to himself. So when you're crying out to the Creator, you should probably wait to hear from him and to be able to discern his voice. That means whether or not he speaks to you when you're the only one in the room, or whether somebody knocks on your door 10 minutes later and have a word for you. Do you hear his voice?
And a lot of times it starts that way with people.
Okay, it's going to be, people are going to be there in order to give you that person that you're looking for. And then I got you, G. That person that you're looking for, the Most High, he's going to send people first. And then once you begin to hear, okay, that's not the Creator. Okay, that is the Creator. All right, that's not the Creator. All right, boom. Now he's building up your discernment. Same thing he did to Jeremiah. He said, "Jeremiah, what you see?" "Oh, I see a bag of figs." "Cool, you have seen well. Now this is what that means. I have to give you something physical, and then I can give you the spiritual connotation behind it. So I'm going to bring you somebody physical so you can hear a person, and then now I'm going to start speaking to you when there is nobody around." Go ahead, G.
Okay, understood. I understood everything you were saying. I think what I said was taken out of context. I'm talking about a voice directly from him. I'm not talking about somebody else giving it to you. I'm talking about a voice directly from him. That's what I was saying.
Okay. And what I'm saying is both occur. Go ahead, Toy.
Can I speak? Can I say was a voice directly from him? That's what I believe. To this day, I will never change that. So clear. I was laying on the floor in the prison cell, in the jail cell, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I hadn't said anything. I was kind of ashamed because I had just got out of trouble. And so in my shame, I started to cry and say, I'm sorry. Here I go again. And in the midst of me crying, the Creator told me to not cry and to be at peace, that everything was going to be worked out. And I went to say, but this is a conversation. And he said it again for me to be at peace. Everything was going to be worked out. It was already done. And like within 23 days, out of everybody, my whole family was in this situation. Out of everybody, with 23 people, I'm the only one who walked away with everything dismissed, no charges, no nothing. A few days later after that, he also told me that if I found myself in the midst of dead people again, that I would remain there. That's why I have continued to stay away, and I changed my life completely. You can never tell me that you didn't speak to me directly. I yield.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of go off of what you were saying when you were saying about the person. I think what gets out of context is the Most High moves. This is why he always tells you to look at a father or a mother and a child's relationship. Everything that he does is in that vein. So when Moreh Daud is saying that he will send a person first, that's usually the training. If you can hear his voice through what a person is saying, let's say you go into a prayer, then somebody comes and confirms what you prayed and answers what you pray. That's the beginning of hearing his voice. And then eventually you have to cultivate that relationship with the Creator to where you can hear his voice clear as day. For me, it didn't start out that way. A lot of it was just me hearing his voice clear as day because I am very animated and I have a lot of conversations within myself. So he met me in those conversations. So it really depends on the person, but the Most High speaks. Just like I'm speaking right now, just like you hear my voice, he speaks just the same way. It's just a lot of times we think, or you hear people say, something told me, or I told myself. That's not you speaking. That's usually the Creator. He doesn't sound like a man in my head. He sounds just like me, but I know it's him because of what is being said. I will not encourage myself to say the things he's saying. So I know that it's him. A lot of times we don't exercise that voice in our head because we dismiss it as, oh, I just told myself something good, or something told me, or oh, I forgot, but something just reminded me. That's the Most High. When you start engaging in that voice, you start realizing how he's leading you and where he's trying to lead you to.
Which is why Mashiach can say, if you see me, you've seen the Father. Why? Because a piece of him is in everybody. So all Mashiach did was magnify that piece that the Creator put in him and then lived on that. So now is no longer me. Now is the Creator. I have embodied that which he has placed inside of me. So of course it's going to sound like you, because he gave you a piece of him in order for you to personify uniquely. Only you can do you. Nobody else can be you but you. Even if they tried, it's not as authentic as you. And that's what the Creator put inside of you of himself. He put you. So when you're hearing that voice and it's like, all right, look, you should do this or you should do that, it's more than likely going to be something that, one, you wouldn't have thought of, and two, it's something that you really don't want to do. It's going to be work because the Creator moves like that. Our forefathers weren't crazy. When you see Abraham, you see Jacob, he's sitting on a rock and all of a sudden he's talking to the Creator. Unless we're saying that they were hallucinating, unless we're saying that they were crazy and they weren't really hearing the things that we read that they were hearing. And we're going to go that route, okay, then that's a different conversation. But if we're going to believe that they had that opportunity and they had that connection with the Creator, then why do we now believe that we don't? Especially if you say that you're Yisrael. You descend from that bloodline. The bloodline of prophets. So before we can even get into what I was thinking about, we got to get back to, who are you? Who are you? Are you a child of the Creator? Okay, boom. Now we can go into something else. That, once again, that's what the Mashiach was trying to get them to know. Did he not say that you are gods? All of you, you are gods and you are children of the Most High. That's what that verse says. So if you are gods, which means you have the ability to create the way that your Father does, and you are children of the Creator, why would you not have access to your Father? He don't have no crazy baby mama that's trying to keep his kids away. He got direct access to his children if his children choose to.
The only way you don't have access is you.
Okay.
You in the way.
Your sins have separated you from your God. Made him hide his face from you. I'm going to read a couple verses and then we can continue having this conversation. Matthew chapter 7, 28 and 29. And it came to pass that when Yahushua had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. That word for authority, power of choice, liberty of doing as one pleases, leave or permission, the power of authority and right of the power of authority, influence, and of right privilege, the power or rule of government, the power of him whose will and commands must be submitted to by others and obeyed. He spoke with that type of authority. Why? Because he was given that type of authority. And we were too. How do I know this? Let's go to Matthew chapter 21. We're going to stay in Matthew real quick. 21 and 21. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, verily I say unto you, if ye have faith and doubt not, ye shall not only do this, what is this? What he just did, which is done to this fig tree, right? When he cursed the fig tree and it died. But also if ye shall say unto this mountain, be thee removed and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. That word believe, to think to be true, to be persuaded of, to credit, place confidence in. So when you have confidence in your Creator that he has placed himself inside of you, you walk with a little bit of authority. You walk with the authority that he gives to his children. Which is why you see in these in rich people houses, right? Not only do the parents boss around the maid and stuff, but the children even treat the maid and the butler and all them. They be like, yo, look, I need a sandwich. Hurry up. They walk with the authority that they see their parents have. Even though it's a little tainted and wicked, they still walk in that authority. Why? Because if I'm my father's son. It said in Daniel, right, that the vision was the Most High giving the kingdom to the Son of Man. But then when the Malak gave the interpretation thereof, it said that the Most High gave the kingdom to the saints. So that Son of Man was a representation of the saints, which means that if you say you are set apart, you are a child of Elohim, so on and so forth, the authority where everything has to bow down to you, you have it. The same authority that Yahushua had over spirits, you have it. You just, one, don't know who you are, and two, haven't sat down long enough to understand how it works. Okay. Matthew chapter 8. Okay. Matthew chapter 8, verse 23 through 27. We're talking about our big brother, right? And when he was entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea, insomuch that the ship was covered with waves, but he was asleep. And his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we perish. And he said unto them, why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. But the man marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and sea obey him? He said, why are you of little faith? Next time he said it, hold on, I want to read this out one real quick. It's okay. Mark, we're going to Mark chapter 9, 19. He answered him and saith, O faithless generation. Faithless, that word means unfaithful, faithless, not to be trusted, incredible. Incredible, unbelieving, incredulous, without trust in Elohim. That type of generation. How long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. This is what the Messiah was saying to us. These things, you shall do these things, and even greater things shall you do. Why? Because you have the authority. So what does that mean? That means that, one, we need to meditate more, including myself. We need to fast more, including myself, to declare and to decree over our lives, right? Let's look up those two words real quick. To declare and to decree. Declare. Say something in a solemn and emphatic manner. So as OK and Kevin was like, they weren't saying it, with passion or with confidence. Kevin Hart would say it with your chest. That's when you declare something. Now, decree means an official order issued by a legal authority. An official order issued by a legal authority. Who gave you the authority that you have? Yeah. If Yah gave you the authority that you have, why are you afraid of anything? Oh, ye, why are you fearful? Everything is supposed to listen to you. If you have the spirit of Yah inside of you, nothing should move without in your life. Nothing should move in your life without your say so. Okay. If you're moving according to Yah, nothing in your life should move without your say so. It doesn't mean you're not going to have trials, tribulations, or tests. Those things are supposed to build up your faith so that you can continue to move forward. But that doesn't mean that you should be afraid of any spirit, of any entity, of any demon, of any curse, of any doubt. Nothing should move you. Only way that it moves you is if you have moved away from your creator. How can you be afraid with the power of all powers? It said, what great nation has an El so close to them? Where he is wherever we call him to be. Not like he's our maid or our butler, but he's our power. He's our father. What father doesn't attend to the cry of their child? So we have to, because I'm not, I don't want to seem like I'm yelling at people, but we have to learn how to call on our creator and walk in the power that he has given us. We should be moving at a higher vibration than the things that are going on around us. Everything that's going on in the world should not make us fearful. One, it should be letting us know what time it is. And two, having us call on our Father to let us know which way we're supposed to go and what we need to be doing. And if we're not going to do that, Mishpachah, there's no need for you to be up here. There's no need for you to keep playing church. Because the true people of Yah, they walk in it. Our forefathers and foremothers, they walked it. It's okay to not be there, but it's not okay to stay where you at. So with that, are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I'll say total blessing. All praise to the Most High, allow you to bring up the lesson, total about for the reading. Yeah, all praise to the Most High for another, beautiful Shabbat day.
HalaYah. HalaYah. HalaYah.
That was a total blessing, Akeem. I got the Kleenex right here, but that was a total blessing, though.
Okay, HalaYah. HalaYah. Oh.
Okay. Very good lesson, Akeem. We need some more of that fire coming from. All praise to the Most High.
HalaYah. HalaYah. And with Ima is okay. Make sure y'all okay. I take it as okay. All right. Well, with that being said, all praises to the Most High Yah, creator of all, sustainer of all, the power who gives power. Yisrael, he who reigns with El. So I just say Todah Rabah to him for giving us life and the ability to move forward, to separate life from death. Ima?
Another powerful message. We got our thing up too high. We get some feedback ourselves, but another powerful message. And what we must understand how to translate what our ancestors went through and bring it into our lifestyle. It's kind of real deep because we can always talk about what they didn't do. Huh? It's real deep. What they didn't do. But what we're not doing. It's deep. It's what we can always criticize somebody else's and looking in the forefront or the back front or saying, oh yeah, Moshe should have did this or Moshe should have done this. But what are we doing? What are we doing? because they're only there to let us see where they fell short of. Where are we falling short of? As the new Israel, the new people. And we gotta capture it, because if we don't capture it, we're gonna do this, we're gonna repeat the same thing they did. Moreh, once again, excellent teaching. I like it. Excellent teaching. But for us to grow at the assembly where we're at, what must we do to elevate ourselves and listen, be obedient to what Yah is telling us? Because if we look in the word, nothing has changed, right? He always presented himself in a way for his people, Israel, to listen. If Israel listen, then we can grow. And I can truly say, in my spirit, in my heart, I don't listen all the time. I don't listen, man. True man of who I am. I don't listen. Sometimes I don't listen to my ish, my wife. I'm telling the truth. And she'll say something to me. Didn't I tell you that, baby? We don't listen. So at the same aspect, we don't listen to what Yah is telling us to get there. We always want to go to the promised land, or to the place that he want to put us at. But we're not listening on small things. We're small things. I think we're missing it, man. And I can only speak for myself. I can't speak to nobody else about this matter. At at 40 some years old, and that's a tale, right? I still don't listen, man. I need to listen more to what he's telling me to do. And sometimes the conversation be so quick. Don't turn left. I say turn right. That's what he's saying. Don't turn left. Don't just turn right. I need to turn left. I want to turn left. But he says turn right. And if we're gonna get better, if we're gonna grow, we must listen to him. His voice is so gentle, real gentle. It almost be sometimes like, I heard something. Somebody's saying something to me. If we're gonna get there, man, we gotta get there first as individuals. That we hear what he's saying. Then we'll get there as an assembly, and we understand what he's saying. Awesome message again. Scripture was great, but we need to understand how the scriptures relate to us, where we're going, what we need to do. Powerful words, powerful words. I yield.
Hallelujah. And same to you. It's okay. We do need to figure out what that means. One thing it definitely means is you got to be quiet. We have to learn how to be quiet. I know it's kind of hard for some of us, but everybody has to learn how to get away from everything around you and just go sit down somewhere. Leave your phone, leave the computer, leave your children, leave your wife or your husband, go sit down somewhere. That way you can understand what it means to be silent with yourself. That don't mean you're gonna be out in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. Even if you don't pray any right now, you need to at least be learning how to pray one time a day. then 2 times a day. Our forefathers prayed 3 times a day, whether that's Daniel or David. So we know 3 times a day is key. Morning, noon, and night. Learn how to pray. Learn how to sit. Then you can learn how to listen. But it's not going to happen if we keep trying to live this fast-paced life. Our people were very simple people, so that you could listen. Then we can pray together. We were doing 5 o'clock prayers. I got tired of just praying with my Isha, Deborah, and E. So we used to do 5 o'clock prayers. I got tired of praying with just E, you, Deborah, and Abigail certain times.
That was like a couple years ago.
No, that was like last year.
Yeah, that was like last year. But that's my fault because I shouldn't care who's on the call. If the creator tell me pray at 5 o'clock, that's one of the things I didn't listen to. He told me pray at 5 o'clock, I should be praying at 5 o'clock. So we're gonna go back. It may not be 5, it may be 7 because anyway. We're gonna go back to praying as a connection. Get up, pray. If you go back to sleep, go back to sleep. But you got to get up and you got to pray. That's when you're doing your declaring and your decreeing in the morning. So I don't know the time right now. I'm not just going to throw something out, but we will be praying in the morning because we have to. For the men, y'all need to we have to pray over our houses, our families in the morning. Speaking of prayer, on September 16th in Washington, D.C., we'll be doing Cry Out 2022. So we had our first one in 2020, September 16th. It'll be in Washington, D.C. No, probably like 2.5, 3 tops. Okay, we'll definitely text you and let you know when we'll start the 5 o'clock again. More than likely, it'll be the beginning of next week. Okay, so I will be putting a flyer in the chat and kind of keeping everybody updated. It's only a 1-day event, so we'll go down and we'll come back up. But it's time for us to get focused, Mr. Prakash. Not on the things around us, but on our Creator, because He is our only salvation. So if there are any other comments, questions, or concerns, we'll go ahead and pray out for the day. Pray everybody enjoy the last hour and a half of this Shabbat. Most high, most powerful creator of all things, the one who has given us life, who sustains our life, who provides protection, mercy, love, and peace to his children. We pray that you forgive us for our sins and our iniquities, O Yah, our transgressions, the things that have separated us from you, knowingly and unknowingly. We pray that you sprinkle clean water upon us and wash us from our filthiness, from our idols. That you bring us back from the dead, O Yah. That you allow us to discern, to identify, and then remove all things that are dead within our lives, whether mentalities, locations, relationships, and anything else, Father Yah, that is unclean in your sight. Forgive our forefathers, our foremothers, our mothers and our fathers, who did not teach us, Abiyah, according to your ways, who tried the best they could, but they did not have all of the information. Father Yah, forgive them for their ignorance. But you have shown us, you have shown this generation, you have revealed more of yourself to us. So we no longer have that excuse, oh Yah. Now we pray that you clean our hearts. Give us a new heart and renew an upright spirit within us. Purge us with hyssop that we may be clean. Wash us that we be whiter than snow. Each as an individual, Father Yah, allow us to hear your voice. For those of us, Abiyah, who will sit silently, who will cry out unto you, praying for a response. May you speak to us and may it be so clear that we think someone else is in the room, oh Yah. We pray for Valerie and Hanama El's son, that whatever ails him, Father Yah, that he be made whole. We pray for Ariel, that whatever she may be fighting, Abiyah, that she also is made whole. And anyone else, Father Yah, Toy, that her ailments, Father Yah, that you cleanse her body of anything that is toxic. Cleanse her mind, Father Yah, that she may not have any confusion, that she may not have any more doubts, Father Yah, of what you are calling her to do, but that she may run towards it confidently, knowing that you are with her, that you lead her, and that you will never forsake her. May that confidence rest in each and every one of us, oh Yah, that you are our power, and that as we call on you and we believe and not have any doubt, that you will hear our voices, that you will hear our cries, and that you will manifest in our lives. May you restore us, Abiyah. Restore us to the status of your children, that we may walk in the authority, to where we may rebuke demons, Abiyah, and that they hear, that we may call out spirits and tell them to flee, and they shall do it, not for our name's sake, Abiyah, but for your set apart name's sake. Not for our esteem, but for your esteem. That we may walk in the authority, and when those who see us do such things, Abiyah, ask, who do we worship? That we will call on the set apart name of Yahweh. May you prepare all of the resources needed for September 16th. May everyone who has a heart to serve you, Abiyah, be aware and be notified, that we may meet and that we may, as one voice, call upon you, praying for you to redeem us, to restore us, and to return us back unto you into the land of our forefathers. Baruch atah Yahuwah, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, Baruch haba Hashem Yahuwah. Increase your name, O Yah. Increases to you, O Yah, and increases to those who come in your name. HalaYah, HalaYah, HalaYah. Amen.
Oh yeah.
Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. So we meet again.